Good evening. I am here. And, we're back with more Great Ace Attorney 2, Resolve, the finale of the Great Ace Attorney series. Though not actually the finale, because there's 5 episodes. We're only in episode 4. I'm feeling a little weird all day. After work, I kind of rushed through a bunch of chores, and then I fell asleep. I gotta stop doing that. I gotta stop napping before I stream, because now I'm, like, entering this, and I feel woozy and weird, and, like, I shouldn't be doing this. But I'm here. We're gonna stream. It's gonna be fun. We're gonna get through this. And yeah, I don't really have much else to say, so let's just go. Let's just go. This is, this case started off kind of like random, like LOL random, lots of random shit going on, and, we were looking for someone's missing husband. We were looking for, her husband, who's this person, who apparently left their job 10 years ago, and we had no idea, so, that's cool. And, the big wham moment is that, Gregson is apparently dead. He is apparently murdered, and we're gonna have to... And Van Zeeks is being held, in custody. Which, holy hell. I was falling asleep at the end of last night stream because, like I said, my sleep schedule got kind of messed up because of PAX. That, like, snapped me right back up for a few minutes when that happened. I was like, oh my god. So, yeah, we've got 2 places we could go now. Go to the prison and talk to Van Zeeks, or go to the crime scene. Which, I think it's probably better, to go here first. Fresno Street room. Excuse me. 1st November, room on Fresno Street. This really isn't out of the way part of London. I doubt many people find their way down this back street. So this dust-ridden rented old room is where it happened then. Oh yeah, and also at the yesterday, at the end of the last case, Kazuma showed up, sliced the wax figure in half of the professor, who turns out is his father, Genshin Isogi. And that whole scene was voice acted, and man, it was weird to hear those characters speak for like an extended period of time. Just because you're so used to like very quick cutscenes and voice clips. And then you actually have the voice actors doing, like, a full scene. And they're pretty good. I gotta say, the voice actors in this game are very, very good. So this dust-ridden rented old room is where it happened, then. As for my voice, it's still kind of messy. I don't know what's going on with it. Hopefully it goes back to normal in a day or two. There's kind of, like, an extra... like, a layer of, like, gunk on it, is the best way I would describe it. It doesn't sound perfect. It sounds like my vocal cords have, like, something on them. So this is where poor Inspector Gregson lost his life. Yes, and the police are already hard at work investigating, it seems. I don't see Mr. Sholmes anywhere, though. Perhaps his investigations have taken him elsewhere. Oh, wait, what do you think you're doing over there? Every one of them drawers has got to be taken right out so you can look underneath and all. I want the space above the ceiling checked, and don't forget to check inside the chimney stack, too. Blimey, ain't you lot never gone over an house looking for dough when the owners are out of town? Gina's obviously got some unique investigative techniques she wants everyone to adopt. Oh, so you've turned up at last. Mind you, I ain't been here long myself. Hello again, Gina. Sholmes has only just left. You're lucky you missed that. He went prancing around in here, pointing at stuff and flicking that off of that out of his, and then just scarpered. Ugh. Oh, he's finished investigating already, you mean? Yeah, he didn't stop to say nothing to no one, not even me. Gina, would you mind if we investigated too? Listen, Odo. You're a lawyer, right? Yes. Why? Well, you're not thinking of trying to help that Reaper bloke, are you? Oh, poor Gina. She's never going to forget, is she? That trial will haunt her forever. Gina, if you don't mind me saying, if Lord Van Zeeks really is responsible for this crime, He will be duly and fairly judged in court. I suppose you're right, yeah. Go on then, Odo. Get investigating. I want to know the truth about what really happened here. Thank you, Gina. Clues, 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 clues. An empty fireplace makes a room feel even colder than it would be otherwise, doesn't it? It's thick with dust, look. I think it would be fair to say it hasn't been used in a very long time. In other words, whoever lived in this room must have been extremely hardy in cold weather. Or nobody lived here at all and merely visited when the occasion arose. I wouldn't like to say which is more likely. No, that's right. It's one or the other. Oh, it's a photograph stand. I suppose it must be a picture of one of Inspector Gregson's family members. What's the matter? Your eyes look like they're about to pop out of your head. They are. Look! Mr. Naruhodo, quickly! Of course. It's the woman. Why do I feel like this woman is familiar somehow? Of course she's familiar. We met her only this morning. It's Mrs. Vigil. This makes no sense. Why would there be a picture of Mrs. Vigil in here? To be frank, I don't think I've ever been more stumped. I'm sorry to say, I have no idea either. Photographic print of a smiling Mrs. Vigil in her younger years. It was found on a desk at the scene of the crime. A crime? Couldn't even get through that without messing it up. This looks like some sort of notice board or something, and it's absolutely covered in scraps of paper. Mr. Naruhodo, look! This, you mean? It's an autopsy report, isn't it? And these are case notes here, and details of prison inmates. Yes, in fact, they're all sort of documents that only detectives could normally acquire. What on earth went on in this room? Some old newspaper cuttings. And this one here! Oh yes, the advertisement, you mean. To the Red-Headed League. But why? What's that doing here? Whoever occupied this room was clearly interested in it for some reason. Excuse me. Oh, Inspector. Oh, sir. Poor man. He can't possibly be able to focus on investigating when he's so upset. To the right. Alright, broken candle. The top of one of the candles in this candle holder could be completely blown off. Yes, there's wax splintered on the wall behind, look. I suppose if a bullet had hit it. It does seem likely that the bullet hit the candle, having first passed through the inspector's body. Now that wax on the wall looks like blood to me. Candelabrum from the wall of the room on Fresno Street where the inspector was found dead. Top of one of the candles appears to have been blown off. Blow me! Somebody's very haphazardly nailed these boards over the broken glass, haven't they? You couldn't even really call it a window anymore. Well, if you remember the window in Mr. Natsume's room, that was totally blocked up with bricks. This one does at least let in some light, so you could say nothing more about it. I'm starting to feel even more sorry for Mr. Natsume now. Excuse me. If you're looking down on us from the great beyond, Inspector, don't worry. We'll look after things at the yard. I've interrupted some deep thoughts there. Excuse me. Sorry, sir. Can't see a thing, sir. Too many tears, sir. Right, perhaps I better leave you to your work, then. Oh, what's this? It would appear to be a little model policeman. It's rather charming, isn't it? In a way. Seeing as it's on the floor here, do you think it belonged to Inspector Gregson? Yeah. It's a little hard to imagine Lord Van Zeek's playing with something like this. It's only about 8 centimeters tall. Could have fallen out of someone's pocket, I suppose. I think we should record it as evidence, just in case. Yes, I agree. It is rather delightful, after all, in a way. A small and rather endearing model of a British policeman found at the scene of the crime on Fresno Street. The helmet of this charming policeman appears to be a little worse for the wear. I'm not convinced about the charming part, but yes, you're right. The head part looks like it's been fairly heavily manhandled. Almost as if somebody's enjoyed twisting it around for fun. Shall we try twisting it around and around too? For fun? What's that? It appears to be some sort of key. But it's tiny, though. Couldn't be a key for a door. Not of that size. So what is it for, I wonder? Giving it a twist causes a key-like shaft to pop out from the base. This looks like some sort of key. Yes, it does. A very tiny and simple key. What's a little key like this doing inside a figure of a policeman in the first place? Looks like he's taking a big poopy. Big metal poopy. And what's it for? Then check the candelabra. There are some black marks here, look. Yes, they look like some sort of scorch marks. So perhaps the bullet struck the candle here, do you think? It's only this one candle that's been cracked in half, it seems. Yes, I think you might be right. Firearms are rarely used by criminals in Japan, so I'm afraid I'm not particularly knowledgeable about them. Nothing of particular note, even though I looked right at the gun. This is presumably the murder weapon, then. Oh my, is it real, I suppose? I think so. Guns are so rare in Japan, I really know very little about them. There's only one way to know for sure, Mr. Naruhodo. Fire a shot. No. If I did that, I'd be looking for a skilled lawyer to represent me in court. Slightly safer just to ask someone who might know, I think. Murder weapon that was found at the scene of the crime. Probably best to avoid handling it. Killer's revolver. Revolver, baba. I suppose this must have been the murder weapon. Oh my. It is real, I suppose. I think so. Oh, it's like the same dialogue. It's really weird. Perhaps someone more familiar with firearms could shed a light on certain things here. Iris prop, perhaps? Perchance? What's this little, like, hook down here? Ever since we came in here, I can't take my eyes off this thing. Oh, funnily enough, neither can I. It's a hairpiece, isn't it? It is! A bright red hairpiece! And I suppose the fact that it's right there next to where the body was found means we have to accept that Inspector Gregson wore wigs, does it? And it's such flame-colored red, too. Yes, that's a color we've come across very recently elsewhere, isn't it? Exactly! This is a vital clue, I'm sure of it. Flame red wig found at the scene of the crime on Fresno Street. Presumably it belonged to Inspector Gregson. So I suppose this is where the victim... That's right, the rope is laid around the body to show exactly how it was found. Well, Inspector Gregson himself has already been taken away. It would probably be under Dr. Sight's scalpel by now, if not for what happened last week. From the shape of the rope, it would appear that the inspector was curled up in a ball. Are you feeling alright, Mr. Naruhodo? You look like you've just seen a ghost. I know it's just a rope, but, well, it conjures up quite a terrifying image, that's all. Especially with that blood stain next to it. Oh, I do understand. In some ways, what we picture in our minds can be even worse than reality. Sato-san is so strong, though. She's taken this far better than I am. I've always wondered what the underside of a hairpiece looks like. That doesn't surprise me at all, Mr. Naruhodo. You always want to see what lies beneath, don't you? I'm not sure that's quite how I'd put it. You must have to use lots of bird lime to keep it in place on your head. So it doesn't get blown off in a gust of wind, I mean. That might be a little inconvenient when you wanted to take it off again, don't you think? I don't think there's really anything else notable about this, though. This armband is proof, in Japan at least, that I'm a defense lawyer. And this badge is proof that I'm a detective. So you're gonna all have to start calling me Inspector Lestrade. In that case, you'll have to start calling me, well, anything but Odo. I could call you Defendant Naruhodo if you like. But it don't really trip off the tongue. No, it doesn't have a great ring to it, does it? Oh, that business? Yep, Inspector Lestrade's here as soon as Inspector Lestrade here as soon as had that one buttoned up. Thought it was Mr. Sholmes who led that pair into the trap, wasn't it? Listen, Odo, it ain't easy going from East End Diver to Scotland Yard Detective, right? But anyway, it's all part of the charm, innit? Being a bit loose with the truth when it helps. That's wrong for so many reasons. Maybe I should get Iris to write stories about me. The Adventures of Inspector Lestrade. Gina, what do you make of this? What is that, evidence? Worked something out about what happened, have you? Oh, no, not exactly. I ain't been long enough in the job to get all this debt deducting business yet. But I swear I'm gonna get the person what did this to the boss. Alright, time to present everything before I start talking. You never, because like you never know what they're gonna react to. Alright, well, she didn't react to anything other than the newspaper. Inspector Gregson. Gina, what was Inspector Gregson doing here in the first place? That's what I want to know. It's what, half a year since I got out of the clink? That's when I decided to give up me diving and become a detective instead. Sorry, one second. Oh yes, Mr. Sholmes twisted the inspector's arm to agree to take you on as an apprentice, didn't he? Somewhat like that, I think. Anyway, the point is, I didn't really know much about the boss till then. But it turns out he's a bit of a legend at the yard. Goodness, really? They say he managed to solve some really tricky case, just like that. He did. Yup, and ever since then, he started going out on all sorts of investigations, but always on his own. No one else at the yard even knows what half the cases he's working on are, apparently. That's not how it's supposed to work, is it? So what was the legendary inspector doing in a dingy little room like this? I know I've had a lot of respect for the Reaper and all. And look where that landed him. Respect for the Reaper? In what way? I heard him say as much. I take my hat off to the fella. I take my hat off to that fella, were his words. Not how the general public feels, is it? Most people are terrified of the Reaper. Don't fear him. Yeah, the boss said that's exactly why I respected the bloke. I didn't realize Gregson held the Reaper in quite such high regard. He said something else to me and all. That I didn't need to worry about the Reaper, because he only goes after people what are bad. It did kind of set my mind at ease when he said that. Right. What is this place then? Does anyone live here? Apparently it's being rented by some cove called Hugh Boone. Hugh Boone? Hugh Boone. It's a sort of here today, gone tomorrow name that, isn't it? Yeah, is what we call an unidentified person. We haven't been able to get in touch with him. I see. Well, judging from appearances, I have to say this place hasn't been lived in for a long time, if ever. Right? All the lads from the yard piled down to get stuck into the investigation. But there's so little ear, no one knows what to do with themselves. I do wonder... Yes, Mrs. Sato? Well, could it be that this Hugh Boone is in fact Inspector Gregson himself? What? How could that be? Well, if he was investigating on his own, it's quite possible that this was in fact some kind of secret office of his. I'd never even considered that. Nice work, Zeus. We're actually following a line of inquiry like that ourselves. You are? If you look around the room, you'll see. There's a few things that hint at it. We should really investigate this place in detail. I see that's where the poor inspector was found. Over there. Yeah, that's right. They said it was a single bullet what did him in. Apparently the bullet went right through him and struck that candle tree on the wall. Oh yes, it's blown one of the candles apart completely. And the gun used is there on the floor. It's the Reaper's, isn't it? No denying that. What? Really? How do you know that? Take it easy. I don't know what to do with myself when you stare at me with those big wide eyes. I'm only saying what I've heard. I don't know much about guns myself. But there's some bigwig lawman or whatever who said so. Why don't you ask him? Bigwig lawman, is it? Anyway, Fresno Street runs along that window there. There were some street sellers just outside who heard the gunshot. Oh, but I don't recall seeing anybody outside. Yeah, they've all been taken down to the yard for questioning, that's why. We're talking about the yard's legendary inspector here, after all. They'll be getting a grillin'. Do you think we might be able to speak with those street sellers ourselves? I doubt it. Lads of the yard will just want to know what you're snooping around for, and you'll be up in a grill, and you'll be up for a grillin' and all. So we can't interview the witnesses then. Shame. Alright, I guess we gotta figure out what the deal with the gun is now. Van Zeeks has been arrested. What on earth is happening? Local prison, cell 1. Right at the front. There he is, Lord Van Zeeks behind bars. So it's true, he really was arrested. He's sitting with his back to the wall, reading something. I don't think he's noticed us. And Lord Van Zeeks. That turn. Fancy meeting you here. The last place on Earth I'd like to be, with the last person on Earth I'd like to see. Couldn't very well not come. We heard what had happened. That you, that Inspector Gregson was... Go home. This has nothing to do with you. But... Forgive me, Lord Van Zeeks, but I must disagree. Inspector Gregson was very helpful to us on a number of occasions. We're indebted to him. At the very least, we owe it to him to find out the truth about his death. You must help us with our investigations, please. There's really nothing I can tell you. What were you just reading at the back of the cell there? Was it something related to the case? This? The Yard isn't quite so cavalier with this information as to share case details with the suspect. This is a letter from an old acquaintance. Oh, who might that be? Someone you know, as it happens. Albert Harebrain. Of course, yes. Keep forgetting they went to the same university. And I would like to read my correspondence in peace, so let's get this over with, shall we? What is it you want to know? Strange. I mean, let's face it, Lord Van Zeeks never minces his words. But they seem to have less bite than usual somehow. I think you know that this is worn by people in my country to show that they're defense lawyers, don't you? And I think you know that I believed you to be merely playing at lawyercraft, initially. But it would seem your armband may actually imply some dormant talent after all. Lord Van Zeeks, do you mean... Let's hope you wake up soon. Yes, I was clearly daydreaming. I almost thought I got a compliment there. It's not from me. Ah, that's not why I was showing you it. I suppose. If it was a black-headed league, you would have no hesitation. None whatsoever. Sadly, my own hair could be no more described as black as it could be red. What colored league should I then join? I don't know. What color is your hair? People are troubled by the most unexpected problems at times. What's that? It's just something I was hoping to ask your opinion about, that's all. It's a serious crime for the defense to attempt to extract information from the prosecution by illegal means. Alright, I get the message, but I don't see what's illegal about me asking. Alright, well... So does he know about vigils? Alright, what about your firearm here? Nope, nothing. What happened? Can you at least tell us your side of the story, Lord Van Zeeks? What happened? How much do you already know? We know that the inspector was shot dead in a small rented room on Fresno Street, and that you were found there by the police when they arrived on the scene and immediately arrested. We were told that there was nobody else in the room and that some witnesses heard the gunshot. Then you're well informed, and there's really nothing I can add. The truth is, I don't know what happened myself. But the gunshot! Obviously you didn't fire the gun, did you? I'm not in the habit of shooting the people I work alongside. I also heard the noise, however... Before I had a chance to investigate, I was apprehended by the arriving officers. So he doesn't actually know what happened. If I might ask, what were you doing in that place to begin with? I don't need to answer that. Oh. After all, you're not representing me. He's going to need a lawyer, though. Professor Harebrain's letter. After the trial, Professor Harebrain was supposed to go straight back to Germany, I thought. It's a letter to inform me of his safe arrival at home. I arranged his passage by sea and rail. It's a relief, I must say. He should now be beyond the reaches of the Reaper. Because the Reaper doesn't follow people abroad, you mean? Yes, so it seems. Your stupid little Nipponese friend, for example. You told me he was keeping well in Japan when I inquired You told me he was keeping well in Japan well, oh my god. You told me he was keeping well in Japan when I inquired the other day. Yes, that's right. He's an author now, happily working in Tokyo. So Professor Hairbrain is safely back in Germany now. He is. Who's going to be representing you in court, Lord Van Zieks? Anyone other than you, I should imagine. Would I be right in assuming that you have no representation as of yet? Defense lawyers shy away from any trial involving the Reaper, as I'm sure you know. But this is different. In my career, all of the defendants I've prosecuted, only 19 have ever been acquitted. Of them, 16 subsequently died in mysterious circumstances. Questions will be asked now. Surely not. I assure you, no defense lawyer will want to touch me with the end of a barge pole. But you didn't actually have anything to do with those people's deaths, did you? It's been 10 years now that I've been known as the Reaper of the Bailey. Believe me, nobody wants to know the true identity of this killer more than I. However, it seems things may come to a head before I have the chance to uncover the truth about that. What does he mean by that? So, it appears our conversation has run dry. There was a 2-second silence, that's... There was a 2-second silence, that's all. Well, in any event, if you'll excuse me now, I wouldn't like to detain you. I was wondering, Lord Van Zieks, if you'd like, I'd be happy to advocate for you. You trust me, do you? Yes. I've heard you speak many times in court. I've seen how you treat people. So I'm quite sure that you would never have taken another's life. It's just my feelings can't be used as evidence in a court of law, sadly. It's a very gracious offer. However, I trust no one. What? Not the police, not the judiciary, and not you Nipponese. But please... I have no intention of engaging your services. The chasm between us is just too wide and too deep, it seems. I'd appreciate it if you don't visit again. Then neither of us will waste any more time. Perhaps we need to dig a little deeper and find out more about Lord Van Zieks and what happened to Inspector Gregson. Oh no. Hold on. My desk is doing that squeaky noise again after, like, not doing it for a year. What is causing that noise? That's aggravating. Let's see if Iris knows anything about the gun. Or not. Oh, she's not even here. Okay. Well, I guess we're going to the Lord Chief Justice's office. Lord Chief Justice. Lord Chief Justice. British Supreme Court. Lord Chief Justice's office. Cool. You made good time. I took an express train back to London. I can hear Lord Strongheart, can't you? Can't you? Can you? Yes, it sounds as though he's talking to someone. Is everything in place? I had a private compartment on the train so I could check all the paperwork. It's... Kazuma-sama. Ah, your timing's impeccable. It is? No doubt you have heard the sickening news. about the Reaper's latest devilry. Yes. I'm sure you don't believe it, of course, though, Lord Strongheart. That Lord Van Zieks could have done such a thing to Inspector Gregson. I believe only in the facts, and the facts in this case point to one thing. The unavoidable accusal of Lord Van Zieks for this crime. Must bring charges against the Reaper for taking the life of our legendary detective. Oh no, surely not! It's a truly regrettable situation. Tomorrow the Forensic Science Symposium finally begins. At the very least, though, we could show the world our justice system's swift and equitable processes. So does that mean the trial is tomorrow? Precisely. In fact, this is a fine opportunity for introductions. Kazuma. Ah, but of course, you're already acquainted, aren't you? Mr. Asogi here will be present at tomorrow's proceedings, leading the prosecution. Wait, what? Kazuma? As I'm sure you're aware, he's a very capable practitioner of law. Kazuma-sama, a prosecutor? I'm sorry for all the worry I've caused you, but it'll be all right now. Has your memory completely returned? Yes, completely. I remember everything, including what I was coming here to do. Right. Kazuma-sama, I can't tell you how happy I am to see you alive and well like this. But how did you come to be here in London when you were suffering from amnesia? It was the voice. This past year, I've been hearing it in my head constantly, saying the same thing over and over. Go to London. That's where your destiny awaits. It was that voice that guided me here to London. I'm so sorry for what's happened. Anyway, my memory might have returned to me. But there's something that won't return to the way it was before. Huh? What do you mean? I'm a prosecutor now, so I'm sure our paths will cross again very soon. As ever, the enormous clock is diligently maintaining its rhythmical tick-tock today. Watching machinery at work can be quite mesmerizing, can't it? Ironically, you can completely forget the time. What I particularly enjoy is watching the enormous wheels of a steam locomotive turning. When I was a little girl, Grandmother often used to take me to watch the railway engines, you know? It's an open fire for me. I could sit and watch the flames for hours. Mr. Naruhodo, we can install one in the office. An enormous wheel, turned by an enormous steam engine. Perhaps we could start with a simple fireplace. I'm sure you can imagine that tomorrow's trial will be closely followed all over London. In fact, no. People all over the Empire will be watching closely to see how it unfolds. There's no salvation for anyone in a trial prosecuted by the Reaper of the Bailey. And now, the Reaper himself must stand in the dock. Quite so. The public will want answers about the Reaper. Answers about how and why those who escaped conviction subsequently died in mysterious deaths. But Lord Van Zieks firmly denies any involvement in such matters. There have been thorough investigations that have proven him to be innocent. That's certainly true, or has it been? It has been, at least, until now. No, tomorrow's trial will mark the start of a new chapter in our country's great judicial history. So, Cosmo will be prosecuting tomorrow? That's right. But he's a defense lawyer, Lord Strongheart. Accomplished young law practitioners cannot pick and choose their roles. And imagine what it will mean for the prosecution and other strategies commonly employed by the defense. A devastating combination, wouldn't you agree? Absolutely. I have no doubt at all that Cosmo will be razor sharp as a prosecutor. But why Cosmo-sama? There are surely many other highly skilled prosecutors in Great Britain. It was a personal request. I asked to be assigned to the trial. You asked for this? But why? It'll all become clear tomorrow. I'm guessing you intend to stand for the defense, don't you? Although, the Reaper appears to be turning down all offers of representation. I'm surprised such a personal request would have been upheld. It seems unprecedented. Quite exceptional, in fact. You are quite right, Miss Mikotoba. Tomorrow's trial will be unprecedented and exceptional in every way. After all, the accused is one of Britain's greatest prosecutors, the pride of the Empire. It would be unwise to give the public a reason to perceive it as judiciary closing ranks. So that's why you're happy to let a foreigner handle the prosecution. Ryunosuke, let's see how your skills have been honed. After practicing law in this land for so many months. Kazuma, I don't understand why you're being so hostile to me now. This isn't going to end well, my friend. Oh yes, we noticed that there was a gun at the scene of Inspector Gregson's death. Do you know if it belonged to Lord Van Zeeks? That would be a question for the lead detective investigating the scene. Well, the thing is, she wasn't sure, so she told me I should ask somebody higher up who might know. That's right, Mr. Naruhodo. Be direct. It's certainly a model that's it's certainly a model that's issued to all personnel involved in law enforcement, yes. Which includes prosecutors, as I'm sure you can imagine. In that case, it could actually have belonged to the victim. No, Gregson had his gun in his person. What about Lord Van Zeeks? He claims it's currently not in his possession. What? According to his story, he lost it. In short, it's more than a little suspicious. But just because the gun in question is the same type as the defendant's is no proof that it's actually his. No, of course not. Nevertheless, the situation is grave for Lord Van Zeeks. It doesn't look like we're going to glean much more here. Well, thank you very much, Lord Strongheart. Remember, tomorrow's trial will go down in our Empire's history. There's much you could learn from the public gallery. Excuse me. Sorry to have taken up so much of your time. We'll see ourselves out.
Hold it!
A Kazuma hold it. Before you go, Ryunosuke. Oh, what is it, Kazuma? I just wanted to thank you. Kazuma-sama, what? You took my determination to heart and brought it with you over the ocean in my stead. And you carried out my role to perfection. You always were intent on studying British law in order to change our own justice system. It was your dream, and Mr. Naruhodo didn't want that to die with you. Yes, but I had another purpose for coming here. Oh? I actually have a favor to ask. Which is, this trial I'll be prosecuting tomorrow. I'd like you to be there to see how it ends. Right in front of me, as the defense counsel. Why? What's all this about? I know you have what it takes. But Lord Van Zeeks would never put his fate in my hands. Fate or fates, doesn't matter. All both work. On the contrary, he recognizes your talent. He does? It's not easy to see behind the facade sometimes. Here, have a look at this. That's Lord Van Zeeks and Inspector Gregson. In a photograph that must have been taken some time ago by the look of it. It must be Clint on the left. who's the third person? It was displayed very prominently in the detective's office. In Gregson's office, you mean? Yes, what I'm trying to say is, if you really think you could trust the Reaper, you might find that some straight talking makes him take a different view. Take it. An old photographic print displayed rather prominently in Gregson's office is for a treasured memory. I don't understand. Why are you giving me this? Just hurry, Ryunosuke. Visiting hours at the prison are almost over. What are you doing, Kazuma? Alright, Lord Strong Fart's got nothing new to say here. Back out. Lord Van Zeeks is still reading that letter. You've been gone quite some time, though. Either he's an incredibly slow reader, or it's an incredibly long letter. I might even be able to read English faster than he can. I was intending to ignore you entirely. But I can't turn a deaf ear to such an insulting Nipponese. Oh, sorry, I didn't think you'd hear that. I had the case notes brought to me in secret. I was reading them to pass the time. Yes, we heard that your trial is set for tomorrow. Which is none of your business. So, have you found a lawyer? How many times must I reiterate the same thing? This has nothing to do with you. In other words, no. We were just talking to Lord Strongheart, and the prosecutor for your trial has been decided. I'd expect nothing less, though I have no idea who it is. It's going to be Kazuma Asogi. Asogi? That made the color drain from his face. Well then. It seems I'm going to have to engage in conversation with you again after all. Lord Van Zeeks, we came by this old photograph. Where did you get that? It was taken when I became a qualified prosecutor. It's almost unbelievable. I assumed it was long lost. Is this man on the left there? Yes, that's my brother. Clint. Clint Van Zeeks. It had to be, really. Apparently, this picture was prominently displayed in Gregson's office. He had a deep respect for you, you know? Were you aware of that? Respect? That's nonsense. No, we've heard someone attest to it very clearly. Inspector Gina Lestrade, no less. Well, maybe once, yes. There was a time things were like that. We were brothers in arms, jovially discussing the future of justice and other such lofty subject matter. That was a nice glimpse of the past. I thank you. I feel as though I got a nice glimpse of the past then, too. There was a glimmer of light in his eyes, a brief twinkle, an insight into the true nature of this man known to us as the stone-cold... An insight into the true nature of this man known to all as the stone-cold Reaper of the Bailey. "10 years ago, my older brother, who was the director of prosecutions at the time, was murdered. And the killer, as you know, was a visiting student from the Far East. Not a single day goes by when I don't curse the name Asogi." Hey, how you doing? Welcome to the stream. Genshin Asogi was Kazuma-sama's father. So what cruel twist of fate is this now, 10 years later? The man's son is to crucify me in some kangaroo court? I still don't understand why Lord Strongheart apprenticed Kazuma to you. It's what he does. No doubt he knew of the young man's true identity from the outset. But what could he have been hoping to achieve? And let's not forget that it was only 8 days ago that Cosmo recovered from his amnesia. Why would Lord Strongheart assign this trial to somebody like that? Sogi. That name is the very epitome of my bane. Shenanigans happening? Yeah. So we knew that the inspector was shot. We knew that Van Zieks was arrested. We found this photo of the girl from last night in the place where Gregson was shot. And other than that, we just found a policeman figure with a key in it. A little key edge here. I don't know what this is for. And we found a red wig and a pistol at the scene of the crime. The bane that is you Nipponese. Right, your hatred of all of us Japanese. I'd only just been appointed as a prosecutor when it happened 10 years ago. My brother Clint, the director of prosecutions, was hunting down a mass murderer, the so-called professor. Assigned to the investigation as his partner was a certain visiting student dispatched from Scotland Yard. And that was Genshin Asogi? Exactly. I developed a deep respect for the man. He seemed so noble-minded and chivalrous in the extreme to me. But none of us saw the true nature of the man. So I lost everything when it happened. My esteemed brother, the people I believed in, any semblance of right prevailing over wrong. Oh, how awful. To avenge my brother, I prosecuted an Asogi's trial. It wouldn't ordinarily have been allowed, but I beleaguered the ascribed prosecutor until he consented. What do you mean by the ascribed prosecutor? The man in charge of the Professor Case Inquiry, Lord Mill Strongheart. Wait, what? Lord Strongheart? He was a highly accomplished prosecutor, but he agreed to relinquish the trial to me and act as my advisor instead. Since that time, he's the one person to whom I've felt indebted. I'm sure he must have seen your zeal for the case and recognized your potential as a prosecutor. Anyway, time passed, but then earlier this year, who should arrive in London but you? Ah! And of all things, as a lawyer. I felt your animosity the first time I ever faced you in the courtroom. Your obvious deep loathing of us Japanese. I kept telling myself it was illogical. But for so many years, that hatred had festered inside me. I could no longer control it. And I can understand why, now that I know the history. But in the same way that I've long felt the Nipponese to be the bane of my life, to Kazuma Asogi, I am the bane of his. The Reaper who sent his father to the gallows. He's looking for revenge, and he intends to take it into court tomorrow. Gregson's transfer to the Paris Police Prefecture had finally been arranged for the coming month. But he'll never make it to France now. It's a tragedy. Oh yes, come to think of it, he did mention something about that, didn't he? I wonder, does it happen often? Being transferred internationally, I mean? It's the first time I've ever encountered it. Oh, the Paris police welcoming an English detective is almost inconceivable. I can't imagine what kind of magic Gregson must have worked to put that arrangement in place. It sounds like that mystery has even Reaper perplexed. Wow. I'm afraid to say that we were very ignorant about Inspector Gregson's standing. We hear that he was considered something of a legend at Scotland Yard. Again, it was 10 years ago that he first made a name for himself, by uncovering a decisive piece of evidence that exposed the professor's identity. If it wasn't for Gregson's singular approach to the case, the discovery would have never been made. What sort of approach? After my brother's life was taken, the inspector pushed for a full autopsy. Oh my, 10 years ago? Why is that so surprising? Autopsy was considered a desecration of the body at the time, and rarely performed. And my brother was, of course, a noble. That made the idea of it even more unthinkable. But something Gregson had dug up in his investigations made him determined it was necessary. His powerful conviction somehow influenced the House of Lords, and as a result, I could avenge my brother's death. So, you must have had great confidence in the Inspector's abilities then. And it's even more inconceivable that you would have taken his life. Inspector Gregson. About the gun used to shoot the inspector that was found at the scene. Ah, yes, that's not mine. Really? Because common opinion seems to be that it is. What do you expect me to say to that? Lord Strongheart informs us that you claim to have misplaced your firearm. As embarrassing as that is, I'm afraid it's true. When did you lose it, then? That, I don't know. Oh, I was issued with the revolver when I first became a prosecutor 10 years ago. I must have stowed it somewhere, I suppose. Or left it somewhere, perhaps. You have something in common with Lord Van Zeeks, after all, Mr. Naruhodo. A talent for misplacing things. No, this has nothing to do with me. Don't drag me into it. Don't make the mistake of associating me with this Nipponese. Oh dear, the rift is very wide, isn't it? So it's not decisive evidence, clearly. But it doesn't look good, that's for sure. Mr. Naruhodo. Oh! That's the first time he's ever used my actual name. I've lost all confidence in my country's justice system. I don't trust the police, the judiciary, or lawyers. But there's still one thing I'm willing to believe in. What's that? That which you see in the eyes of another across the courtroom. A simple determination to know the truth. Lord Van Zeeks. From the very first time we clashed in the Bailey almost a year ago now, I couldn't deny it, even though I dearly wished I could. Wait until we tell you what happens in the future, yeah. Here is a loathsome Nipponese, who has absolute integrity as a lawyer. There are only two other men I've known with that same look in their eyes. My brother Clint, and Genshin Asogi. The man he idolized and the man who betrayed his trust in the most hideous way. When you showed me that photograph just now, it reminded me. You mean this photograph? That I'll show you again? Back then I was able to laugh. I was free of the shackles that mistrust that plague me now. I look to the future with hope. Since then, I've protected myself against betrayal by refusing to trust anyone. But at times, the mire into which I've sunk makes it almost impossible to breathe. I'm so sorry. So, Mr. Naruhodo, I want to believe in that look in your eyes. I need to believe in it. In tomorrow's trial, will you advocate for me? Of course I will. It would be an honor. I'm so pleased, Mr. Naruhodo. Then my life is in your hands. Don't make any mistakes or I'll just beat the shit out of you afterwards. For Lord Van Zeeks, that must have been an incredibly hard thing to ask. Which is why I simply cannot let the man down. Tomorrow, in the Old Bailey, against my old friend Kazuma. To be continued. I might have a Jack Links tonight. Exactly an hour to do that tonight. Insert Cheetah Men music. Good stuff. And that spice It clears up my nose a bit. Really good. 2nd November, 8:56 a.m. The Old Bailey, Defendant's Antechamber. What am I eating? A Jack Link's. A beef jerky stick. Spicy. There's that old familiar feeling again. The crushing pressure of this historic courthouse. Actually, no. It's a little different today. There's an even more menacing tension in the air. There's a menacing tension in the air today here, isn't there? I suppose. Yes, I think so. Yeah, I really do like them. I buy boxes of 20 of them. And then I keep them under my desk for when I'm hungry. Next to my mini fridge. It can only be the result of the menacing appearance of the defendant. A little more courtesy, if you please. Oh my, I do apologize. However, you're certainly not mistaken that this trial is far from ordinary. What do you mean? I'm not privy to the details. However, I understand that no jury has been selected. A trial without a jury? Well, that's just like the trial of the professor 10 years ago. A closed court. Good morning, my dear fellows. Mr. Sholmes, his hair's back to normal. Have you made note of my hair, Mr. Naruhodo? An outright victory for science, you must agree. To be perfectly honest, so much happened yesterday that, well, I completely forgot about your little hair problem. Ha! What to one man is a little hair problem is to another day of drinking dubious potion after dubious potion. You have no idea how my stomach ailed me this morning. I don't like them, but the last time you ate one, it was too oily. Yeah, no, they're very oily. They're not good for you, but I enjoy eating them. And that's why I'm a 2XL now instead of an XL. Good lord. Oh dear, how awful for you. I'm afraid you only have yourself to blame, Mr. Sholmes. And good morning to you, Mr. Reaper. I'm delighted to see you looking so full of vim. And I see London's celebrated great detective is as active as ever. Oh, you exaggerate, my dear fellow. Compared to my paltry engagements with a few trivial cases, the Reaper's overbearing presence is a far greater deterrent to the black roots of crime in our capital. And whilst I may not agree with your methods, there is at least one point on which I would readily commend you. What an honor, and that would be your eye for a good lawyer, sir. Mr. Sholmes. After all, behind this lawyer there is a very great mind, my own. What are you trying to say? Oh, excuse me. I wish only to say that you should be prepared for quite a trial, Mr. Reaper. Sorry to barge in. Oh, it's all my friends. They're all here. Gina. What's that on her arm? Is it a mourning? It's a mourning band, I suppose. Father, shouldn't you be at the symposium? It's been postponed, so I have some free time. I decided to come along with the police inspector to see our country's up-and-coming student in action. I shall be very interested to see the fruits of your studies over the past year. Well, it's an honor to have you here. Let's hope there are some fruits to see. Yeah, poor Gina. Odo. Oh, yes, Gina? Why do you agree to this, eh? Why do you take him on? This Reaper bloke. Everyone says it was him what killed the boss. I'm sorry, Gina, but I just don't believe that. Well, if it weren't him, who was it? I don't know that, yet. I don't care who calls him what. The Reaper's just a name. He's just a person at the end of the day. And if it turns out it was him what killed the boss, then God help him. Fiery eyes indeed. Yes, the culprit deserves every ounce of your loathing. Eh? At least that may be some solace to the deceased. Please, Odo. Get whoever did this, for the boss. Oh, Gina. I hate feeling this useless, but there's nothing I can do. So you've gotta find who done this and make the wretch pay. Counsel for the defense and the defendant. Court will be in session shortly. Make your way to the courtroom at once, please. Alright then, here we go. It's time, Mr. Naruhodo. Lord Van Zeeks. One who lost his treasured brother to a mass murderer. One who lost his treasured father in a foreign court of law. And one who lost the man who helped her escape destitution. Destitution. All that misfortune, all that pain, on course to collide headlong in this trial. It's time to shine a light on all of these dark events. And whenever truth is revealed... Oh, you're crying too? Oh no. We're going to have to look it straight in the eye. November, 9:20 a.m. The Old Bailey courtroom. Oh, this is ominous. In the name of Her Majesty the Queen, I hereby declare this court to be in session. We are here to conduct the fair and just trial of the defendant, Barak von Zeeks. Counsels for the defense and prosecution, are you ready to begin? One second. Let me eat first. The defense is ready, my lord. Prosecution is more than ready. Kazuma-sama. I've been wishing to see you in court again for so long, it feels. But I never pictured it happening like this. I never thought I'd be facing you behind the prosecution's bench. Excuse me. Oh man, my fucking headphones again. Ah! Why does this keep happening? The so-called Reaper of the Bailey has been scourged like no other, undermining Her Majesty's justice system. Today we must uncover the truth behind this scourge. In other words, this trial is going to be a lot more far-reaching than Inspector Gregson's murder. The truths revealed by these proceedings may have unpredictable repercussions due to The truths revealed by these proceedings may have unpredictable repercussions to the judiciary. Accordingly, they are to be conducted as a closed trial with no members of the public present, by Her Majesty's direct orders. Excuse me, no members of the public present? Who are these, then? Who are these people? How will that work, my lord? The burden of all arbitration and adjudication falls on my shoulders. Therefore, as you will see, the jurors' bench shall remain vacant today. If no members of the public are present, might I ask who is currently occupying the gallery, my lord? Oh, good. They are members of the judiciary, here to witness proceedings and ensure an equitable trial. Members of the judiciary. Someday I'll be able to say that word. Oh my, this is a very unusual trial already. There is, of course, another unprecedented aspect to those proceedings which I must elaborate. The counsels for the prosecution and the defense are both aliens of Great Britain. I believe it takes an outsider to see the truth sometimes, and as I stand here in this courtroom now, I'm quite certain. This is the reason why I had to come to Britain. Kazuma? Very well, let us commence proceedings. Prosecutor Asogi, your opening statement, if you please. Certainly, my lord. The incident took place on 1st November, just after 5 o'clock in the afternoon. The location was a building of flats on Fresno Street on the outskirts of the city. The victim's body was discovered there in an old single-room rental property. Yes, Inspector Tobias Gregson, a name known very well indeed to this court. Not at least for his miraculous resolution of one of this country's grimmest cases 10 years ago. The Professor case. How sure are you about the time of the incident? Several witnesses on the street outside heard the gunshot, and all have reported at the same time. An alpaca voice. Kazuma-kun? Oh no. That's what I think of when I say his name like that. Yes, that's what Gina told us too. There were a number of witnesses. I have here a plan of the room. Yeah, thanks, Finney. The victim was found curled up in one corner. It's believed that he was shot from the front at point-blank range and died instantly. How has the range been determined? There were scorch marks around the entry wound. Such marks are caused by the gunpowder used to fire the bullet. But powder hot enough to leave scorch marks is only ejected a few inches beyond the end of the barrel. In other words, it only happens when the target is at point-blank range. I see, yes. Thank you for the detailed explanation, Counsel. Inspector Gregson's autopsy report saying the death was instant, resulting from a bullet shot at close range. The murder weapon was found lying beside the victim. And have you managed to ascertain the owner of the firearm? No, my lord. Not conclusively. Bravo, Kazuma-sama, for not trying to use the gun as evidence when its provenance can't be proven. Furthermore, my lord, as I've explained, the revolver was fired at extremely close range. The bullet passed through the victim and struck the wall behind him. There's a candelabrum mounted on that wall, and the tip of one of the candles in it was found to have been blown off by the projectile. We noticed that too, didn't we? Yes, that's right. Thank you for the thorough report, Counsel. The setting of the crime is clear to me. You will submit the plan to the crime scene as evidence, please. As you wish, my lord. Plan of the small room in the building of flats on Fresno Street where the body of the victim, Inspector Gregson, was found. Is this Fresno Street room Inspector Gregson's private abode? No, my lord. The room is rented to a Mr. Hugh Boone. But there is precious little furniture inside, and it is generally in a poor state of repair. So what on earth was Gregson even doing there? Presumably he was investigating some case or other. Man, what an empty-ass room. Name Tobias Gregson, age 45, nationality British, time of death. Why is the time of death, empty? Coroner, Maria Gorey. Cause of death. Victim was shot in the chest at close range from the front, resulting in instant death. Scorch marks at point of entry. The bullet exited the body from behind. The caliber of the gun used matches of that of standard issue firearms for members of the judiciary. When a policeman was informed of the gunshot from the witnesses and rushed to the scene, he found only the deceased inspector and the accused standing alongside, holding the revolver. The attending officer arrested the accused on the spot. So, the details of the case are clear. In that case, the prosecution would like to call its first witness. A name, please, counsel. Naturally, the accused himself. Lord Van Zeeks? As a prosecutor, he believes in the oath of office he's taken, and will be compelled to tell the truth. Very well. Lord the defendant take the witness stand. So, witness, state your name and occupation for the court. Surprised they let her do the autopsy because of the risk of being in cahoots with their parents. Wait, what? Wait, who? Maria Gorey. No, that's Scythe. That was Scythe's daughter. Which, by the way, what is that going to come back? Is Scythe's daughter going to make another appearance? Kazuma Sogi, my best friend who I believe to be dead. He lost his memory somehow, but is now materialized as a prosecutor in the British courts. Barrack von Zeeks, Old Bailey prosecutor. presume, Lord Van Zeeks, that you heard Prosecutor Asogi's opening precis? Precis? My bad. Also, what, Cosmo's 2? No, he's 24. No, he's not 2. He's 24. Did you think the 4 looked like the other bracket? Yeah, he and Naruhodo, I believe, are the same age. Sasato is 16. Iris is only 10. Herlock is the same age I am. He's 34. That's how old I am. Oh, God. I'm gonna be 35 in less than 2 months. I did. It is alleged that you were found at the scene of the crime, and that you were arrested by the arriving police officer. Can you confirm this? Yes, my lord. I'm sure the court would like to hear you explain some things away. Namely, why you were there in the room on Fresno Street at the time in question. And what exactly took place. I intend to explain away nothing. I will simply tell the truth. I must say, Lord Van Zeeks, I never imagined this day would come. Or rather, I didn't want to imagine it would. But since you became known as the Reaper, a part of me has been dreading it. Your formal testimony, then. Witness. Facts of the incident. I was investigating Gregson, and my inquiries had led me to that address. When I first entered the room that day, it was dark inside and I saw no one. A moment later, I heard the gunshot. I spun around, and I saw the revolver on the floor. Just as I picked up the firearm to examine it, the door flew open and I heard a man scream. It was only then that the body of Inspector Gregson appeared before me. That testimony was the whole truth. It was. So, you heard a gunshot being fired in a room with no living occupants. And moments later, a corpse somehow appeared before your eyes. Is that it? You're right, you haven't explained away anything. In fact, that would barely qualify as an excuse. I thought you were my mute apprentice. Yet it turns out you have a way with words, Prosecutor Asogi. It would appear to be a singular tale indeed. Singular isn't the word, it's laughable. What's got into Kazuma? He's not behaving like himself at all. Very well, then. Counsel, you may begin your cross-examination. Yes, my lord. That wide-eyed look.
Hold it!
You investigating the inspector? What on earth for? I'm not at liberty to say. Sorry? I'd identified a distinct possibility that Gregson was involved in the case I was investigating. Regrettably, though, he was killed before I could secure the proof I needed. Is the court to understand, then, that on the day in question you followed the victim to the scene? No. I was privy to his movements in advance. How? I stole into his office in the yard and consulted his diary. The address on Fresno Street was noted in the 5 p.m. entry. You illegally entered the man's office? In Japan, that alone would constitute a very serious offense. As it does in Great Britain, I assure you. Is that not the case, Lord Van Zeeks? I was aware of the possible consequences. So, in summary, you were investigating the victim, and yet, you refused to tell the court why. A fire.gif. I didn't realize British prosecutors enjoyed such freedom to choose what to divulge under oath. Why did I ever think I could defend this man? Had you ever been to this address before? No, never. I only learned of the place as a result of my investigations into Gregson's activities. There was no light inside when I entered, so it was all but impossible to make out anything. But at 5 p.m. the sun would have only just gone down. It would have still been reasonably light outside. The room has a window, but it was boarded shut. Very little light found its way into the room from outside, so it was extremely murky inside. I wouldn't have noticed if the victim was already lying on the floor. There was no artificial light in the room, you say? You're quite sure? I'm quite sure that the part of the room where the body was found was very dark. I have a feeling there was a small oil lamp burning on the desk, though I couldn't say for certain. Look, Mr. Naruhodo. There is a small desk in the room just there. Yes, I remember. And there was an oil lamp on it, as well as the framed photograph. Yeah. When I entered the room, I closed the door behind me and started towards the desk to investigate. And what did you find? Nothing. I never actually reached the desk.
Hold it!
So, who fired the gun? I have no idea. I didn't see anybody else in the room. But you say it was very dark in there? Yes, that's right. All I can tell you is, I didn't sense another's presence. Ha, then could it be? The gunshot actually originated from somewhere outside the room? No, that's out of the question. Oh. Without doubt, the sound emanated from inside the room. I could smell the gunpowder. This is going from bad to worse. And you say that's the point at which you noticed the revolver on the floor. Correct. And I foolishly picked it up. That was carelessness on my part. Presumably, then, the gunshot you heard came from the firearm that you somewhat hastily took in your hands. In point of fact, my lord, I believe it did not. What? The barrel of the revolver I picked up was cold, and there was no smell of spent powder. But then, where on earth is the gun that was fired? Whilst I would like to oblige you with an answer, I'm afraid I can't. I, too, would dearly like to know that. Ow.
Hold it!
A man, you say? One of the witnesses, I presume? That's right. One of the street merchants working on Fresno Street. Who are these merchants? A number of them had set up their stalls directly beneath the boarded window of the crime scene. A match seller, a newsmonger, and a peddler. They've all given statements saying they heard the gunshot. And without thought of danger, they ran inside to see what had happened. Yes, Gina told us about that yesterday, didn't she? They burst through the door with some force, it would seem. They did, and almost gave me a heart attack in the process. But you're supposed to be the Reaper. The first men to come in immediately noticed the revolver in my hand and fled. A policeman patrolling on Fresno Street heard the commotion, and was able to arrest the accused shortly after the incident occurred. Anyway, the man's scream drew my attention in that direction. It was only then that the body of Inspector Gregson appeared before me.
Hold it!
What do you mean by that? In what way did the body appear? I honestly can't explain it, but it's the truth. As far as I was concerned, the body hadn't been there until that point, and then suddenly, there it was. Did you perhaps hear the sound of the victim falling to the ground just beforehand? At that moment, what I heard was the sound of the door flying open and the scream of the man who came inside first. Nothing more. I see. After the man fled, I examined the body. I was stunned to find it was Gregson. Most curious circumstances indeed. How the inspector was killed, or how his body seemed to appear out of nowhere. I have no idea.
Objection!
Surely the court has heard enough. My lord, the cross-examination has clearly revealed that the accused, Barak van Zieks, is lying on multiple fronts. What is that supposed to mean? Good gracious, counsel. The defendant is lying, you say? In his testimony just now, he clearly claims that he failed to notice the victim's body because the room was dark. That's correct. No, that's impossible. As proven by this candelabrum. How does that prove anything? If you examine the tip of the long candle, you could see it has been blown off by a powerful impact. One would assume that the projectile from the firearm passed through the victim and struck the candle. The problem comes when you consider the other two candles, which are clearly of a different length. Yes, I could see that only the candle that appears to have been struck by the bullet is long. We could reasonably expect someone to have lit all three candles together, which begs the question of why only one has ended up longer than the others. Oh, I just realized this music is like a harpsichord remix of Kazuma's theme. It's really good. It's his Dark Day theme. Dark Kazuma theme. That must be because of that particular candle was extinguished when the others were still burning. Ah! That's right. When the candle was hit by the bullet, it obviously went out. But the other two candles would have still been burning. So the fact is, the victim's body would have been illuminated by the light still thrown by the candelabrum. And the accused claim that he couldn't see the body clearly contradicts those facts. And now to the next lie. There's more? The accused also claims never to have visited the scene of the crime before. That's the truth. In that almost empty room, the police discovered something very unusual. A board covered from top to bottom in police documents and newspaper cuttings. Yes, that's right. We saw it too. It goes without saying that the contents of the police documents cannot be divulged. However, they included a number of reports from various historical cases, the oldest of which was from 10 years ago. 10 years ago? This is starting to sound familiar. And there's a common thread linking all the documents on that board. Indeed, what is this common thread, counsel? They all relate to cases prosecuted in court by Barak van Zieks. All of them? And furthermore, all those cases are ones in which the defendant was acquitted. Good lord! Interestingly, none of those defendants are alive today, because all of them have been sent to their graves by the Reaper. Ah! Oh no! In short, that dingy little room. Did I just mute myself by accident? No, I didn't. Okay. Is the Reaper's secret hideout and his base of operations. The Reaper's hideout? And yet the Reaper would claim never to have been to his own secret hideout. No one would believe that. No, the truth is, we've been looking at this backwards. Backwards? Explain, counsel. So I had to get up and stretch for a minute. Inspector Gregson was investigating the identity of the Reaper. When he discovered the location of the man's secret hideout, he was killed. As I'm sure everyone can imagine, by the Reaper's hand. What? What? Say what? Order, order, order! Why are we getting rowdy here? This is the judiciary's here, not the public. Very well, I hereby state the current opinion of the court. Barak van Zieks is an outstanding prosecutor who has rendered great service to his country. However, it is with deep regret that I must concur with Prosecutor Asogi's contention that the defendant's testimony exhibits a number of stark inconsistencies with the known facts. All I have done is state the truth as I know it. Cosmo's done a brilliant job as ever. He's drawing on his expertise as a defense attorney to build his prosecution case. And it's formidable. Indeed. Counsel, you will submit to the board that you just showed the court. You will submit the board that you just showed the court as evidence. I believe it is fundamental to in establishing the facts surrounding the Reaper's existence. Thank you, my lord. A freestanding notice board completely covered in notes and articles relating to the victims of the Reaper of the Valley. Reaper of the Valley, Reaper of the Valley, Reaper of the Valley. And now the prosecution would like to call new witnesses to the stand. Witnesses who saw events unfold in the day in question. They were mentioned in the previous testimony too, if you remember. Yes, the street sellers who heard the gunshot and went running into the room. Very well. Lead the witnesses in. Let's see here. There are details of a whole raft of cases dating back years on here, aren't there? This paper from 10 years ago is browning with age. Look. Out of interest, the most recent thing appears to be this newspaper cutting here. Oh, it's the same red-headed League advertisement that Mr. Sholmes had picked out. And do you remember? There was a red hair piece at the scene, too. Was Inspector Gregson an exponent of the red-headed League, then? Whoa, there's a bloody handprint in the back. Oh, what's this? Mr. Naruhodo, look! Oh yes, it's a smudge of some kind. In fact, looks just like a handprint. And the color. That's blood, isn't it? Oh dear. How disturbing. There's a bloody handprint on the backside. Look at this stick figure. Very well, lead the witnesses in. The defendant may step down from the witness stand. Certainly, my lord. I recognize that guy. I think the guy at the end there was the carriage driver from the first game. So, witnesses, state your names and occupations for the court. Oh, that lip. Names? We don't use names. Far too fancy for the likes of us. We're just free and easy. Sell what we like, live where we want to live. I give them all a vacant stare as they walk down Fresno and spin a few words into a verse for them. Oh yeah, he's the guy that was always cold. Ah. Would I be right in assuming that all three of you make your living by selling wares on the street? Hey, everyone calls me Gossip. I sell jaunty little tidbits to passers-by, you know. Jaunty little tidbits? Got an absolute smasher for you, sir. Right up your ginnel, it is. 6 is the price and not a penny less. I don't know what kind of accent I should be giving him. Wait, you're actually trying to sell it to me now? Oh, come on, sir, don't tell me you're not interested. Try the man. Give him money and see what it is. Pay the man, counsel. What? Alright, 6 it is. You won't regret it, sir, now you've got your listening ears on. Just between us, a couple on Slate Street have just had twins. Is that it? No, that's not it. It's gossip, is it? In it? It wants to spread, but it's up to you and your mouth, of course. I got more, you know. Want another juicy one? 6 a piece it is, if you're curious. I am curious, yes, about what's going on just under that fat bottom lip of yours. Namely, the unusual bruise or whatever it is that's poking out from your collar. Yeah, I was gonna say. I noticed that too. He looks like he was choked. This dude's got like a choke mark around his neck. What about the next witness then? What name do you go by and what do you sell? Me? I'm Venus. That's what everyone calls me. Funny, innit? I sell these lovely little fireworks to all the local school kids. 6 pence a pop. What do you say? No. What are you doing? Okay. You weren't exaggerating with little. Do they actually sell? Oh yeah. The second years can't get enough of my Venus firecrackers. Especially when I tell them that if they get 100, they could blow up the school. Wow, that's not something I would tell anyone. Not the most savory of ideas, young lady. What do you say then, eh? Want to part with 6 pence for a pop? Wait, what? You want me to buy one? Tell you what, I'll let you in on a little secret. If you get 100 of them, you could blow up the whole courtroom. Try the woman. Give her the money and see if she's right. Pay the woman, counsel. Alright, I'll buy one. Lovely stuff. Right then, this is something a bit extra just for you. The Venus Special. Only 600 pence. 600? It's 100 of my regular fireworks. Nothing little about that, is there? Yeah, why is everyone just bullying Naruhodo here? And there'd be nothing little about the punishment if I blew up the Old Bailey, either. Venus Firecracker Special consisting of 100 smaller fireworks at 6 pence each. What sort of bang could it make? Oh, you know what? I'm already assuming that those fireworks are gonna be important. I think I already know what's gonna. Have you had an idea, Mr. Naruhodo? You're staring at the end of the string of fireworks. Sorry, it's just that it's the Venus. It's just that it's the Venus Special. I was wondering what 600 pence worth of fireworks would sound like. Shall we find out? What? But she said I could blow up the courtroom. Alright, that was a fairly sizable bang. My ears are still ringing, Mr. Naruhodo. It sounded almost exactly like... Yep, I knew it. It goes off like a gunshot. Venus Special sounds like a food dish. Yeah, kinda. And the last witness. What name do you go by and what do you sell? I'm a thinker, me. Think all sorts of things. I think, therefore I am. I am, therefore I think. I think. Because I stand here on the street, watching the world go about me, they call me the Observator. Get out of it, old man. Everyone calls you Sandwich, and you know it. Everyone calls him Skittles. So you don't actually sell anything. A problem shared is a problem halved, as they say. I give advice, I do, and I think what it means. Hot? Something. I don't actually sell anything, no. Come to think of it. Pity. No more purchases today, please. Well, we have quite a cast here, it seems. They conduct their business on Fresno Street from morning until night, my lord. Needs a blanket. Yeah, I'm pretty sure it's the same guy from the first game, who was the carriage rider because he was so cold all the time. And then he lost his job, I guess, because he was overcharging people. And always in the same place, directly adjacent to the crime scene. I see, and thus they heard the gunshot, I suppose. Not only that, but they bravely ran inside to see what was going on and witness the crime. Well, we beggars, I thought, just between us. Venus de Milo, what am I to do? What a terrible thing I saw. What I think is if what we see is light and shadow, playing with our eyes, is any of it real? Very well. The court will hear formal testimony of these 3 witnesses now. You will describe in detail what you witnessed and heard at the time of the incident. We saw the whole thing from start to finish, we did. Everything from the moment they went in the building. It was less than a minute after the Reaper had got inside that we all heard a big bang. Seems to be me that quick to talk and was quick to walk. Gossip couldn't wait to go and see what had happened. I ran to the room and there he was, the Reaper, gun in hand, standing over the dead body. I was scared half to death, me, so I ran off to find a copper. If these witnesses were there the whole day and saw everything, who did they see going inside the building? Only the victim, Inspector Gregson, and the accused, Barrett Van Zeeks. I've seen pictures of the Reaper in the paper. I know what he looks like. And just between us, folks love stories. I've made myself a tidy sum already. But wait, the room was just one of several flats in the building. Someone from another flat could have done it. All those flats on Fresno Street are unoccupied. Of course they are. They're small, damp, dirty, and expensive to boot. The room in which the inspector was found is the only property in the building that's currently leased. And we know the leaseholder's name, don't we? It's Hugh Boone. Testimony the court has just heard would appear to leave little room for doubt. It's becoming increasingly difficult to see how anyone other than the defendant could have committed the crime. No! Thank you for your candor, my lord. Counsel for the defense, you may proceed to cross-examine the witnesses. Yes, my lord. In a closed court like this without a jury, the judge is the only person whose opinion matters. If I stop eating in court, he'll trust me more. I have to break down this testimony somehow.
Hold it!
When you say they, who do you mean exactly? Inspector Gregson, the defendant, Lord Van Zeeks? I suppose so. Lots of us don't know the names of the high and mighty. But I tell you one thing, it was the old Reaper that went in last, that's for sure and certain. Just behind Inspector Gregson, did they arrive at the same time as each other? No, not at all. The first fellow must have gone inside a good 15 minutes before he heard the gunshot. Victim arrived 15 minutes before. Are you sure about that? Am I sure? Why don't we have a photo of the crime scene? Does it seem likely that I've forgotten a fellow with bright red hair like that, does it? Yeah, his hair were really red, weren't it? Redder than my flaming fireworks, even. That fiery red mop's still burnt on the inside of my eyelids, it is. Wait a minute, you're saying the man was a redhead? What, you listening, chum? Ah, he was a redhead. He had a big trunk with him as well. Inspector Gregson's hair isn't red, not by any stretch of the imagination. It seems likely the person you saw wasn't in fact Inspector Gregson at all, but some other third party. No, I hate to break it to you, but the witnesses are correct. What? Just have a look at this photograph of the victim taken at the scene. Yes, that's Inspector Gregson, alright. Oh, that's the first time we've seen him since he died. And a red hairpiece. Ah! Of course, we saw one on the floor when we investigated the crime scene, didn't we? I still refuse to believe Inspector Gregson wore a hairpiece, though. So then why on earth would he have been wearing it, something like this? Wow. The color does seem to suit the man, one might say. The photograph will be submitted as evidence, please, counsel. Photographic print of the victim, Inspector Gregson. His body appears to be tightly curled and there's a red hairpiece on his head. And what became of the trunk that the red-headed victim was supposedly carrying? I was informed that no trunk was found at the scene. So it just disappeared? What? Do you expect us to have been watching the building every second, do you? We definitely saw him in the dock going in, though. No question about that.
Hold it!
By which presumably you mean the gunshot. I sell these little things, don't I? How would I know what a gunshot sounds like? But I've always thought it probably sounds a bit like this, doesn't it? And you see that you heard the noise almost as soon as you saw the defendant here enter the building. That's right. It was almost straight away. Bang, it went. Just like that. Well, he's the Reaper, ain't he? It's what the French call a fait accompli. When the Reaper's around, people are going in the ground. I mean, that's what he does, innit? I think we get the message. The Reaper couldn't allow the Inspector to live after he discovered the secret hideout. There can be no clearer motive for the crime. Yes. It's certainly an eminently credible motive. Great. And at that point you ran inside, is that correct?
Hold it!
Hold it! So when Gossip ran to see what had happened, did you go too? Well, I'm a bit hampered. See, all the signs that I can't move very well. You were way behind, presumably, with that sandwich board around your neck and that big sign in your hand. What a great burden you bear. Pardon me for asking, Mr. Sandwich, but is it possible you and I have met before? I'm not anybody, me. The signs are what make me who I am now. I am. Wait, what? If I sign, therefore I am. So you weren't employed as an omnibus driver just under a year ago, then? I might be mistaken, but I believe his trembling has intensified, Mr. Naruhodo. Yes, I agree. He's clearly been through a lot. Turn down King Henry Street and the Black Widower's Arms is just there. Oh dear, you've made him hide behind his sign. Life is full of surprises. You just full of surprises, Cloud.
Hold it!
So then you were the first person to arrive on the scene, is that right? That I was. Kicked the door open like a professional, I did, and yelled out, "What's going off here?" Lord Van Zeek's claim all he heard was a man scream, though. Was it dark inside the room? No, not dark at all. These candles were burning on the wall. Really? And there was a fella collapsed on the floor. Just between us, it's the first thing I noticed when I got inside. Ah, I see. Even though Lord Van Zeek's claims not to have seen any such lights on the wall. Next thing I noticed was someone standing right beside the body. The accused, Barrack Van Zeeks. That's right, the pale-faced Reaper himself. I was a little shocked, I won't deny it, but I'm no lily-livered coward. I stood my ground and gave that Reaper a cold, hard stare myself.
Excuse me!
Do you have something to add, Mr. Sandwich? There's really nothing to me. Empty in the head I am. Just 2 slices in with no middle. So I don't know what you could want with me. And that maybe you just remembered something? Having heard Mr. Gossip's last statement, I mean. What I think is, we're all nothings, really. We try to dress ourselves up as something else, but at the end of the day, we're all just street sellers. That's enough out of you, Sandwich. Keep your trap shut now. Unless you want us to make you into a real sandwich. When he saw the Reaper, he fell clean over on his backside. That's it? Oh, you rotten beggar. I told you to keep that a secret. He screamed, he did. Screamed and scrambled off in all fours. That's what I wanted to say. Mr. Gossip, is this true? The floor was dead slippery, that's why. Planted my hand in a filthy pool of blood, didn't I? Yuck. What? A pool of blood? But listen here, even when I was sprayed on the floor, I still kept giving that Reaper a cold hard stare, and don't you forget it. Let's just go back a little. Did you say you got blood on your hand? I did. Happens to the best of us at times, doesn't it? So I was scared, so I slipped over. We can keep it just between us, can't we? No, Mr. Gossip. I'm going to have to ask you to add that information to your formal testimony. Oh, if I must. The witness will amend his testimony to include the aforementioned details at once. I slipped over and got blood on my hand, so I quickly wiped it off on the floor. Ooh, wait a minute. I know what happened here.
Hold it!
You wiped your hand on the floor. Well, who wants blood in his hand, eh? Horrible stuff. And they might have thought I'd done it. Humph, no ta. And you didn't think that might be a problem? Does it really matter if I left a few grubby handprints on the floor? They'll get cleaned up in the end, won't they? Don't make such a fuss, that's a message from all of us. Is something wrong, Counsel? No, my lord. I didn't remember anything in the report about a bloody handprint on the floor. That's all. Don't come at me with all that. You can't intimidate me. I know what I did. I wiped it off on the floor. The blood. The blood on the floor, on the floor, on the blood, and the blood on the floor. I wonder, could that be what happened? Mr. Naruhodo? I don't have all the answers yet, but I think we may have just uncovered a vital clue.
Hold it!
So you didn't run to the room with your friends? I'm not that sort of girl. Sorry? I'm a timid little thing, me. I was too scared to go in there. Ah, right. I see. Old Lippy and the witch ran in there, and then I heard an old sort of lady scream. Sort of old lady scream. Well, that wasn't me, I swear. If I were a gentleman, I'd stake my honor on it. I wonder what on earth was going on. Which is when you went to find a policeman? And I ran into a copper as soon as I turned the corner. So I brought him straight back to the place. Didn't I do well, eh? Just between us, that copper's eyes nearly popped out of his head when he saw the Reaper. I've never felt more uncomfortable in all my life. And the defendant was arrested on the spot, I believe. Considering the catalog of killings the Reaper had carried out, it was a particularly inauspicious end. If I can't find any holes in this testimony, I'm afraid the judge will give a ruling of guilty, Mr. Naruhodo. The truth is, though, their combined testimony is fairly damning. Unfortunately, there don't seem to be any obvious problems with their statements, do there? Still, if Lord Van Zeeks really is innocent, then I'm almost certain I will find something in there that doesn't quite add up. You don't think that one of these three could be the true culprit, do you? I don't know, but what I do know is that there's more to this case than is yet to be brought to light. So there's no blood on the floor, but we did find blood in this.
Objection!
So you wiped it off the blood from your hand on the floor of the room. Are you quite sure about that? Are you sure about that? That John Cena meme where he's like tearing off the screen, and he goes right up to the camera. Are you sure about that? Well, what's else? What else do you expect me to have done, eh? Does it really matter?
Objection!
The police found no such handprint on the floor during their investigations. What exactly is the defense asserting? If you listen, you'll find out, Prosecutor Asogi. Certainly there was no bloody handprint found on the floor. What are you trying to say? There was a handprint and blood left very clearly at the scene. On the back of this notice board. Ah, yes indeed, indisputably a handprint of the distinctive color of blood. Ah, you're dead right. That's my right hand. I'd know it anywhere.
Objection!
The witness very definitely testified that he wiped his hand on the floor. Any handprints on the back of the board are irrelevant.
Objection!
Not if the board itself had fallen over onto the floor. In that case, it's quite possible for the witness's handprint to have ended up there. Just look at the floor plan of the room. The notice board was in the opposite corner of the victim, in an upright position, even if it had somehow been toppled over and was lying on the floor at the time. It would have been a considerable distance from the body. I fell over when I came across the body, so I was basically right next to the corpse, not on the other side of the room. In other words, the defense's assertion is contradictory. Yes, it is. There's a very definite contradiction here, for which there must be a reason. I take it you formulated a proper hypothesis, Counsel. Regarding this apparent discrepancy between the witness's account and the handprint found at the scene. I have, my lord. This discrepancy between the witness's account and the location of the handprint is explained by... another handprint, board moving, false testimony. Probably the board moving. No. Maybe. I was right. The real contradiction here is the handprint itself, not where it was found. As the court can see, it's upside down. Good gracious, so it is. If the witness has put his hand against the board, the finger should be pointing upwards. What does that tell us? It tells us one simple fact. When this handprint was made, the board must have been lying on the floor as I previously suggested. Which means that after the incident, it must have been moved. What?
Objection!
You're claiming that somebody moved the notice board after the shooting? And tell the court who. I don't know that yet, but the point is, when you consider all the testimony we've heard so far, we can now be very clear on one point. And that would be the position of the notice board at the time of the incident, my lord. So, counsel, I must ask you to clarify your assertion for the court. At the time of the incident, where do you maintain the notice board was situated?
Take that!
This is the only possible location, immediately adjacent to the doorway. If the court would think back to the testimony given by the defendant earlier, he said that when he entered the room, it was dark, and he couldn't see the body. By heck! If the notice board had been there, the body would have been completely hidden from view, and the light from the candles would have been blocked, making the room appear darker.
Objection!
But the accused also claims that the victim's body simply appeared before him. That's true. Or, in his precise words... My chance to take a bite was capping info. I don't know about calling it a scream, but he was talking about me and no mistake. Because it was me that kicked the door open. If you look again at the floor plan, consider what would happen to the door if the room was thrown open with force. That can't. The door struck the notice board, knocking it over, and making the victim's body visible. Good gracious! My client has told nothing but the truth. He has simply described what he saw. Order, order! Counsel, how has this not come to light before now? After the incident, somebody must have righted the board and moved it into the position where the police, myself, and my colleagues saw it when we were investigating the room. Witness, what have you to say for yourself? What? Me, my lord? You and your fellows were there at the scene before anybody else. It goes without saying that you must know something about the position of the notice board. The witnesses in the stand will testify again. You will each explain exactly what you did upon arriving at the scene of the crime. Stop looking over your glasses at me. I got the message. The mystery of the moving board. I don't know anything about that notice board. I just wiped my hand on it, that's all. Well, don't look at me. I haven't got a clue about it. I was doing business with some second years at the time. I don't know anything about anything. I'm just a bystander, me. Just a sign at the crossroads of life. It was that Reaper, I bet. He's got a face that screams bored. I can't see how this changes anything anyway. The detective still died when we heard that gunshot. So none of you can elaborate further. Shaken by the crime they witnessed, and with only the light of a few candles and an oil lamp by which to see, we can't expect these witnesses to be able to give a more precise account of what happened. That's right, yeah? It don't pay to expect too much. It's a man's endless quest for knowledge that's destroying the world. That's what I think. Do you? Really? In any case, as this testimony shows, even if the notice board was moved by somebody following the incident, it makes no difference. When the gunshot rang out, the accused was the only person at the scene. In short, the only person who could possibly have committed this crime is Barak van Zieks. None of this wrangling over the board changes that simple fact. Quite so, quite so. Does the defense still wish to cross-examine the witness despite the circumstances? Most certainly, my lord. Very well. Then you may proceed, counsel.
Hold it!
So you admit that this was the board you wiped your bloody hand on? Admit it. What's to admit? It's there plain as day for all to see. A smashing print of my right hand. Perhaps you wanted to hide that handprint, so you righted the notice board and pushed it in the corner, did you? No, imagine the weight of that great lump. Do I look like a powerful and well-nurtured man? Well, did you see anybody else move the board? Got nerves of steel, I can tell you, but even I have my limits. There was a body on the floor in front of me, and the Grim Reaper himself standing over it. And there was precious little light inside either. My bottom lip was all a-quiver. In other words, this witness is unable to give definitive testimony on the point. Yes, so it would seem.
Hold it!
When you say you were doing business with them, you mean you were selling them fireworks? Yeah, what else? There's the Priory School just around the corner, see? Those cheeky little so-and-sos have got a plan to blow up their school to Kingdom Come. So I've been telling on them, letting their teachers know what they're up to. Oh, you have? Yeah, wouldn't want anyone to get hurt, so I let the school know the kids are playing with those dodgy toys. Then, praise the Lord, the teachers take all the fireworks off them. And then, praise the Lord again, the kids all come back to me to buy more. Everyone's happy, see? What a racket. Of course, and sometimes the teachers give me a little bonus to thank me for letting them know. It's a busy old life selling explosives. Venus is a guileful goddess indeed. Well, telling barefaced lies is kind of my thing, really. I'm ever so good at it.
Excuse me!
The old man's really, showing his hand here. Something wrong, Mr. Sandwich? If I said it was, could we just leave it at that? Would that be the end of it? No. Did Miss Venus's statement just now bring something to mind, perhaps? Philosophical thoughts. Deep philosophical thoughts. Let's say there was a great liar, and then that great liar said, without batting an eye, telling barefaced lies is kind of my thing, I'm ever so good at it. Would those words of hers be a lie too, or the truth? In which case, she's not a liar. Oh, it's a hellish paradox, that one, don't you think? I'm not entirely sure, to be honest, but it seems to me you're suggesting Miss Venus has been lying. Are you? What are you on about, old man? Trying to cause trouble, are you? Keep on like that. And I'll wrap your whole body in firecrackers and set 'em off. That'll give you something to tremble about. You have a startling, disturbing mind behind that sweet and innocent face, young lady. So Miss Venus has lied in her testimony. Is that what you're saying, Mr. Sandwich? Well, if it means I'll be burning in hellfire for the rest of my days, so be it. Yes, that's what I'm saying. Can you elaborate, please, sir? Oh, Blabbermouth here, headed for the room where the gunshots seemed to come from. But there was someone else who crept up the stairs behind him, too. That's right. The rotten liar over there. Do you mean to say that you did in fact betake yourself to the scene of the crime after all? What did I tell you, eh? I said I was good at telling the barefaced lies, didn't I? Yes, you mentioned it. Well, that revelation rocked the whole courtroom, didn't it? Who knew firecrackers packed such a punch? So you did indeed visit the scene of the crime, did you, young lady? Good grief! Well, now that you come to mention it, I suppose perhaps I do clearly remember climbing the stairs to the room, yeah? Either you clearly remember it or you don't. Well, I shall consider a fitting punishment for this perjurous act later. For the time being, you will immediately amend your testimony to reflect the truth. Oh yes, my lord, of course. Maybe I did sneak along behind gossip and have a little peek into the room where it all happened.
Hold it!
You make a habit of lying, do you, Miss Venus? Well, I suppose so. I don't really know, to be fair. If you want my advice, though, I'd take everything I say with a big pinch of salt. Alright, but you did in fact go to the room where the victim was killed on the day in question, didn't you? Oh, please, as if I would. I can't think of anything more terrifying. The truth, please. Well, alright, just a bit then. I mean, a girl my age is curious about stuff, you know? Did you touch anything at the scene? Oh, my headphones. Again. Oh, please, as if I would. I mean, there was a dead body on the floor. The truth, please. Well, alright, just a bit then. I had to look to see if there was anything I could sell. So I did give the place a once-over, but it was nothing to write home about. Sorry, I just wanted to check something. Right. Now, I hesitate to ask, but... you didn't move the notice board by any chance, did you? Oh, please, as if I would touch anything like that. Just a few bits of loose change is all I had. The truth, please. Well, alright then. I thought there might be something worth having underneath it. So I blasted the flippin' thing. Sorry, flip the blasted thing. You're telling us that you did move the board? I think that did slip out, didn't it? What? You daft bomb pot! Oh, I don't believe it. The girl doesn't think. So, did you find anything then? Something that you might have taken, perhaps? To sell? Oh, please, I should be so lucky. In my imagination, the truth now! I might have found this old pocket watch on the notice board, I suppose. But a bit of junk like this can't be worth much if you ask. Ah! So it was you, was it? You're the one what took it. Gina? Young lady, may I remind you where you are? That watch there. That was a present to Inspector Gregson from the yard, for a big case he solved 10 years ago. The professor case, no doubt. The boss used to wind it up every evening without fail when he was waiting for his grub to come at the pub. I see. I swiped it off him once and blimey was he upset. He gave me the right earful. Said he hadn't missed a day in the last 10 years polishing it and winding it. It meant the world to him, that watch did. Possibly not the best thing to go diving for, then. It's not all that, though. I took it to Jabez's that night to how much it was worth, but the old dealer wouldn't touch it. Wouldn't give me a penny for it, said it wasn't working. Knocked about and worthless, he called it. Ah! I knew I should have lifted it. That watch must be submitted as evidence at once. Oh, please, just so long as you promise to give it back when we're done. Not a chance. I'll swipe it from you if you try to get your grubby mitts on it again. That's enough. Hand the watch to the bailiff forthwith. Now, children, watch your manners. Good lord. The glass appears to be broken. More than likely it shattered when the inspector was shot. It doesn't tick anymore either. Which is why Jabez didn't want it. What a waste, eh? Yes, indeed. It appears to have stopped at the hour of 5. Exactly when the gunshot was heard then. Which supports the prosecution's claim, of course. Inspector Gregson's pocket watch be wound without fail every single day. It's no longer ticking and the glass over the face is cracked. Well, it would appear that the mystery of the moving notice board has been solved at least. The glass over the face is really badly cracked, look. What a shame when the Inspector clearly looked after it so carefully. I imagine Mr. Sholmes could repair it, don't you? Yes, I should think so. He's very adept at things like this. A useful man to have around, in fact. But kindly remember that he's a great detective, Mr. Naruhodo, not an odd-job man. Oh. There's a tiny little stub sticking out from the small hole here, look. I suppose there must have been a little knob or something for that setting the time. If that's the case, seeing as we know what the inspector took such good care of his watch, probably broke when the incident occurred, didn't it? Yes, of course. Which could mean that there's a small part of the watch still at the scene, maybe. This is more interesting, though. That's what the key is for, isn't it? Ah, there's a tiny little keyhole here. Can you see it? Oh, yes, it's probably the winder used to wind up the mechanism. Looks a little unusual, don't you think? Looks like a Pokeball. Yeah, looks like a Pokeball on the side. Yes, you need just the right key to wind it, I imagine. Why do I feel as though I've seen something? Something a bit like a key that's about the right size to fit in this hole. It'd be wonderful if we had the key. Let's check carefully what we already have found. Mrs. Sato, do you think perhaps this key could be the key for Inspector Gregson's watch? Oh, yes, it could be. Sorry. I'm okay. Let's try it at once. There's not a moment to lose. I knew it. A perfect fit. And look, the inspector's watch has started going again. So it has obviously just not been wound up, that's all. What is it, Mrs. Sato? Well, if the watch isn't actually broken after all, I have a feeling it could have profound implications. She's deep in thought now. Perhaps I better start thinking deeply, too. Having wound it up, it started ticking again. Takes a licking and keeps on ticking. So this is where the little policeman figurine's key goes into one to watch. Winding it up every single day for 10 years without fail. This was obviously a thing of great importance to the inspector. I have a pocket watch that I liked winding up, but it like doesn't work right. Even if it's wound up, the mechanism just doesn't work if it's not held like vertically. So it's not really useful. A reminder of the past, lest he forget. And as predicted, it had very little bearing on the case. Now then, continue with your cross-examination, please, counsel.
Hold it!
But you did go to see what had happened in the room, didn't you? Fresno Street is my whole world. It's all I know, and I know all of it. I have to make it my business to know if I want to hold my sign up high. So you did go to see what had happened. It's not the destination that's important, it's how you get there, isn't it? Did you notice the notice board in the room? If you think about it, we're both the same species, aren't we? Both different members of the sign family. So if I'd spotted it, I might have tried to trip it up out of a sense of rivalry, I admit. Someone really needs to tell you that you're Homo sapiens, not Homo sinians. Does that mean you didn't notice the board? I can only repeat what I said before. I don't know anything about anything. I'm just a bystander, me. Just a sign at the crossroads of life. In which case, just who was responsible for moving the notice board? Didn't we already just establish that it was the girl?
Hold it!
What exactly do you mean by that? Oh, come on now. Don't tell us you've not noticed. Looks like he hates everything in the world, that fella. But not notice boards, that's the one thing he likes. You could see it in his eyes. Can't say I'd ever noticed. I'll tell you one thing for free, though. I never took my eyes off that man on the floor, or off the Reaper, not for a second. Sorry? Well, I was that scared I couldn't. You never know what a feeling like that might do if you look away, do you? If you didn't take your eyes off the defendant, you should have been able to confirm categorically whether or not he was the one who was moved the notice board. Yeah. Aye, that I can. The Reaper did nothing of the sort. I could swear to that. I couldn't have missed it, if he'd heaved that thing upright and dragged it into the corner. Right. Glad we've cleared that up. What happened to the face that screams bored? I feel your pain, Kazuma. Detective still died when we heard the gunshot.
Hold it!
It was 5 o'clock in the afternoon that you all heard that loud bang, wasn't it? Maybe the notice board fell over, or maybe it didn't. Maybe I fell over, maybe I didn't. But the Reaper's fate is sealed either way, because the gunshot we all heard. So your fate's sealed too. My fate? That's right, the defense is fated to lose, and the prosecution to win. In other words, it all hinges on that single gunshot. So if I could just find some problem with that part of their story, it may be possible to change all our fates. Of course, none of that changes the fact that I heard what I heard, does it? Not much to go on. As you pointed out, Mr. Naruhodo, there's no question that the notice board was moved, so somebody must have done it. But it did happen after the event, so maybe Kazuma is right, and it's not relevant to the case. But it seems to have been deliberately positioned so as to hide the body from view. So I feel sure that there's some deeper significance to all this. Yes, I know what you mean. I have no doubt there are more clues to be uncovered. You're on the right track, I can feel it. So follow your instincts. Alright then, keep your secrets. Alright, I think the issue is, so if he winds the thing every night, then it should have been going at 5 in the afternoon. So why did the watch not tick at that time? What was stopping it from working? Does that mean that he died before then, maybe? There's a time discrepancy. I think that's what the problem is.
Objection!
Yep. I'm afraid that's not necessarily the case. Oh. Excuse me. That was a bad place to mute. Sorry. At the scene, we found this key to the winder of the inspector's pocket watch. A key. And having wound the pocket watch, we discovered that it in fact still works. You see, the watch didn't stop because it was broken at all. And that fact, completely undermines one of the most fundamental premises on which this entire case has been built. What? Order, order, order! But counsel! The watch has stopped at almost exactly 5 o'clock. Yeah, which is just when we heard that gunshot. It is exactly the hour. The time that was showing on the watch tells us nothing, other than when it wound down. It's merely a coincidence that it happened to be at 5 o'clock.
Objection!
Even if that's true, 3 witnesses here all heard the gunshot at 5 o'clock. So that's obviously when this crime was committed.
Objection!
No, that doesn't hold. Why not? Recall what Inspector Lestrade said only moments ago. Boss, yeah. You know, I want my chance to take a bite. Yeah. The victim was in his habit of winding his watch once a day, in the evening. We can reasonably assume, therefore, that he wound the timepiece in the evening before he died as well. Yes, that would be entirely reasonable. But if that's the case, you wouldn't expect the watch to have completely wound down by 5 o'clock the following day. Oh, well, how do you explain it then? In summary, the evening before the day of the incident, when the gunshot rang out in that room, the inspector was already unable to wind his watch. You can't mean... What would stop a man winding his watch if he's been in the habit of winding it for every single evening for 10 years? The obvious answer is that he was already dead. Order, order! Counsel, that is a most extraordinary claim!
Objection!
Extraordinary isn't the word, it's absurd. You claim he was already dead the night before. Do you really think that Scotland Yard's coroner would have overlooked something like that? Well, on that subject, there is something rather surprising. There's actually an omission in the coroner's report. Oh, so the time of death was, missing on purpose. The time of death is not noted. Ah, that's right. Wait a minute. You're forgetting my legs went from under me when I kicked the door in. What do you mean? Oh man, I'm making noises I shouldn't be making on stream, I'm sorry. Like I said, I planted my hand in a dirty great puddle of blood. Yes, so the victim's blood hadn't dried. It was fresh. Catches on fast, doesn't it?
Objection!
But that blood could be explained in any number of ways. It could have been put there afterwards. Some fresh blood could have been poured over the victim's body after he... You didn't hear anything? Okay, good. That means my mic is working properly. Does my learned friend think that fresh blood is available on every street corner? Ah! Well, it needn't necessarily have been human blood, of course. We've been told previously that Scotland Yard has no way to identify blood as human. The problem is currently being researched. At present, you are correct. It is beyond our abilities. So then a chicken's blood could have been used, for example. It's certainly a possibility that it wasn't the inspector's blood at all.
Objection!
But the gunshot was heard at 5 o'clock that afternoon. That's beyond question. Is it, though? What? Given that the time of death of the victim has already been called into question, it isn't beyond the realm of possibility that what these witnesses heard wasn't a gunshot at all. Oh, please, what are you trying to say? Us lot know what we heard, and it was a loud bang that came from that there room. Now you listen to me, a street seller's ears are his livelihood. I don't doubt your ears, sir, but all you could state with certainty is that you heard a noise. Explain yourself then, counsel. A noise that sounds like a gunshot. Could have been made with...
Take that!
The Venus Special. Something like this. The culprit could have set off one of these to fake a gunshot. Good gracious, the very fireworks that are sold by the witness? Now hold on a minute, are you saying I did it? My petty little firecrackers only make a little pop anyway. See? Not 100 of them together. The Venus Special that you sell for 600 pennies sounds like this. As the court can now attest, it sounds very much like a gunshot, in fact. You're trying to suggest that somebody set one of these off at the scene? I'm suggesting that somebody knew the defendant was in the room at 5 that day, and sought to implicate him by creating a sound like a gunshot for those peddlers on Fresno Street to hear.
Objection!
But even the accused himself has testified that he saw no one else in the room at the time. Whether it was a gun or a firecracker, the only person present to cause that bang was Barak Van Zeeks. One whiff of a match and my fireworks go pop. See? It's why people like them. I fear for your fingers, young lady.
Objection!
Recently, during my time here in Britain, I've learned of a very useful invention indeed. Something called a time bomb. Good heavens, a bomb? Yes, a device that allows you to blow up whatever you like, whenever you like. Mr. Naruhodo, I worry that your unfortunate phrasing there may lead to yet another international incident. Ah, no, wait, it's the whenever you like part that's important. A time device? Yes, exactly, a time device. Something of that nature could have been planted at the scene. A device that was able to produce the sound of a gunshot long after the culprit had left. Your extravagant claim will have to be substantiated with evidence, counsel. What proof do you have to suggest in any way that a time device was employed to create the gunshot sound? Maybe the candles, somehow. Yeah, because maybe the fire.
Take that!
From the other candles. As the court has already discussed, the tip of one of the candles in this candelabrum has been blown off. Indeed, because it was struck by the bullet, which presumably passed to the victim. I don't think that's possible, my lord. Not possible. Why? Because of the scorching. There are gunpowder scorch marks. Whoa. There are gunpowder scorch marks clearly visible on the broken candle. There are? Goodness, yes. But is it not the case that there was also scorching on the victim around the bullet entry wound? That's right, there was. But as we heard earlier, scorching like that only occurs when the target is at very close range. A matter of centimeters from the gun. Ah! Which means that the scorching on the candle can't possibly be the result of a gunshot. You're suggesting it came from the fireworks. How can that be, eh? The fact that there's such visible scorching on the candle suggests that the fireworks must have been right next to it when they exploded. Or to put it another way, the candle and the firecrackers were joined together. The culprit somehow attached the firecrackers at a point partway down the candle. After the killer had left the scene, the candle slowly burnt down along with the other two, until eventually it ignited the fuse of the firecrackers, generating a loud bang. And that is how these three witnesses came to believe they'd heard a gunshot at 5 o'clock. Well, what a plot. And this implies that the victim could have died earlier than we've been led to believe. The previous day, even. Now, just hold your horses. All of us just saw the victim going into the building, remember? I couldn't forget that flame-colored hair, even if I wanted to. The person you saw entering the building wasn't the victim at all. Consider this. Oh! Obviously, anybody could wear a wig. So the person that these witnesses saw entering the building 15 minutes before the incident occurred could easily have been someone else entirely, wearing the red hairpiece. Someone else? Do you mean to say... It was the same person who contrived the firecracker trick. In other words, Inspector Gregson's killer. Oh, very impressive, Ryunosuke Naruhodo. Kazuma? I'm really quite amazed you've come this far. But after all, wasn't I the one who told you that you had all the makings of a great defense lawyer? I also noted the lack of a time of death in this report. Stark omission. But as far as I'm concerned, this whole country's justice system leaves a lot to be desired. Order, order, order! Prosecutor Asogi, what on earth do you mean by that statement? I hear that many of the leading members of Britain's judiciary are present to observe this trial today. So we cannot allow even the slightest doubt to be overlooked. The defense's assertion about the time of death based on this victim's stopped watch is just conjecture. But, while the possibility exists that my learned friend may be correct, we have a duty to explore it. Well, certainly, I would agree with you. And what immediately comes to mind, of course... And what immediately comes to mind is, of course... What was Inspector Gregson doing and where did he go on the day before the incident? Do you know? The inspector always carried out his investigative work alone. His movements were treated as confidential within Scotland Yard. Even within the Yard? However, considering the evidence we've been presented with so far, I'd say it's fairly apparent that what case the man was pursuing. Wouldn't you, my learned friend? I do have a feeling about what case he might have been investigating. Yes, I agree, surely. My lord, the defense believes it can explain to the court the case that was being investigated by Inspector Gregson at the time of his death. Very well, counsel. Present your argument to the court. What evidence is suggestive of the case Why did my telegram close? That was weird. Close that, please. Thank you. What evidence is suggestive of the case being investigated by the inspector on the day prior to the incident?
Take that!
I find your answer suggestive of anything in particular. Other than perhaps it is utterly wrong. That much you have clarified most expertly. What? What? Congratulations, Ryunosuke Naruhodo. You deserve a reward for that expert display. Ah! Did you just draw Karuma on me, my friend? I think, Mr. Naruhodo, there's one particular piece of evidence that really does stand out in showing what case Inspector Gregson was investigating. My lord, I have the answer now.
Take that!
I believe this red hairpiece points to the answer. You might assume that it was part of a disguise used to carry out an undercover investigation. Surely not. Such a brightly colored hairpiece would only serve to make the inspector more noticeable. Yes, that's quite true. It would definitely have made him stand out in a crowd. Except, that is, in a crowd of gentlemen from the Red-Headed League. The Red-Headed League? So, you'd already worked it out. What on earth is this all about? Is there such an extraordinary league of gentlemen? Ah! What a reference to a weird, awful movie. Actually, I don't know if the movie was bad. I've been told it wasn't good. The Red-Headed League is currently under investigation for a grand deception. A deception of what nature, Counsel? They've been targeting red-headed men across all of London and tricking them out of small sums of money. 2 men were arrested for misdemeanor only yesterday, in fact. My lord, the defense calls for those 2 men to be summoned at once. 2 redheads? Inspector Gregson clearly infiltrated the Red-Headed League using this hairpiece. So it's very likely that he had direct contact with those criminals. And it's quite possible that such contact led to more serious events. It occurred that we cannot in good conscience leave this new avenue unexplored. Avenue unexplored. Well done, Mr. Naruhodo. Well, it's another possible line of inquiry for us, at least. Prosecution will make immediate arrangements for the charged men to appear. Bring these 2 Red-Headed League conspirators before me, Prosecutor Isogi. At once, my lord. Wow, that was the wrong voice. Very good. We will have a 30-minute recess. Court is adjourned. Aw, shit, dog. Old Billy, defendant's antechamber, 12:33 p.m. Oh, there you are, Odo. What kept you, my dear fellow? Hello, Mr. Sholmes, Gina. Sure about what you said in there? The bosses, you know, actually died the day before? It's pretty odd to swallow. Yes, I was shocked by the revelation too, Gina. As was I, possibly more shocked than both of you. It's not a competition, Mr. Sholmes. But I was more shocked than all of you put together. This is the autopsy report in question, isn't it? Yes, it's strange that there's no time of death noted. suppose there's a simple explanation, or perhaps it was a deliberate omission. Oh dear, if it was deliberate, it puts me in mind of the last case we worked on, and Dr. Scythe. I know. Anyway, it seems that on the day before Lord Van Zeeks discovered his body, Inspector Gregson was investigating the Red-Headed League, so perhaps something happened with them. Come to think of it, you had trouble with those League men too, didn't you, Mr. Sholmes? You were taken in by their trick. No. Naturally, I wasn't taken in, as you put it. My sleuthhound interest was merely piqued slightly by the rare scent of a weekly £4 income. And that scent masked the underlying scent of deception, I suppose. The two criminals in question are the pair we saw being arrested yesterday, aren't they? And Mr. Sholmes' suite, I mean. That's right, Suze, and it was me what took him in. Thanks to a tip-off by a good law-abiding citizen. Indeed, yours truly. So it's going to be that pair in the witness stand next, is it? Something doesn't quite make sense to me, though. The day before Inspector Gregson was found, you hadn't had trouble with the Red-Headed League yet, had you? Why would the Inspector have been investigating them? Well, the likely explanation would be that Gregson's own sleuthhound interest was piqued by the rare scent of a weekly £4 income. Don't tar him with some of the same brush as you, Sholmes. Blah, blah, blah. Yes, well, then there's the whole issue of Inspector Gregson being investigated by Lord Van Zeeks for some reason. The Reaper, the Red-Headed League, Inspector Gregson, Lord Van Zeeks, and Kazuma. I feel as though he knew we'd arrive at this point somehow. Gosh, I think you're right. What's he really trying to achieve here today? All the answers will soon be revealed. Observe the time, my dear fellow. This recess will be over very shortly. Yes, you're right. Barely enough time to take a piss. Cosmo was determined that he should be the one to prosecute this trial. And he was determined that I should take the defense. Just what is it that he's hoping to make me see, I wonder? I get the feeling we're a long way from the end of this trial yet. Are you ready then, Mrs. Sato? Yes. 1 p.m. In the name of Her Majesty the Queen, I hereby declare this court to be in session again. We resume the closed court hearing of Barak Van Zeeks, here present, who stands accused of murder. Now then, Prosecutor Asogi, my lord, have you summoned the witnesses as requested? Yes, the two members of the Red-Headed League who plan to carry out the deception. They've arrived not too long ago from the local prison by police carriage. Very good. Bailiff, usher the two men into the courtroom. Oh god, they had weird voices. He's eating the spaghetti. With pepper on it. That looks like spicy spaghetti. I could go for that. These two men are currently being held by the police on suspicion of attempted extortion. You may admit your occupations, but state your names now for the court. I am Fabien de Rousseau. Rousseau? I don't know. A descendant of the great de Rousseau family from Nice and France. Rousseau. And my name is Peppino de Rossi. Ooh, that spaghetti looks good, man. I want that. I am the third son of the great Familia de Rossi, the landowners from Napoli. The two men first became acquainted at a boarding school for European nobility. Those who graduate from Temsik are the future leaders of Europe. But, do you have any idea how boring it is to be born with noble blood? Allure! I make it my mission to get the better of the world by employing the little gray cells of my brain. That is all I'm trying to do, So, that's the only reason for this whole grand deception you've been carrying out? Oui, you could say that. Not bad, eh? He has the grand ideals, but the petty plans. This strange combination is under charm of the Hilarious brothers. See, couple? Listen to me, Peppino. I have two things to say to you. Eh, que? What are you about to tell me, one of your grandy anecdotes? Viva! Firstly, I want you to stop calling me this couple. And secondly, we're not the hilarious brothers. This is serious business. Che bello, there it is. The couple's trumpa card. The furrowed brow. It is Peppino, yeah. His name is Peppino. It is deeper, capo, the furrow and the meaning of your words. The court has been led to believe that under the banner of the Red-Headed League, you have conspired to swindle money from unsuspecting members of the public. Is this true? Oui, c'est ça. And what exactly was the nature of this deception by which you plan to defraud? Alors, I will explain it. No, capo. Leave it to me. As you see, we both have vivid red hair, no? At school, we were teased for this without pity. The capo here, he was many times behind the schoolhouse, crying like the Trevi fountain. Hey, those dogs, one day the world will respect us redheads. Every night he would bury his head in his pillow and weep for something. C'est bien, Peppino. Enough. I will explain the rest. The first step was the newspaper advertisement. About 1 week before the plan was put into operation, we listed the same notice in every paper in London. Yes, we saw that notice. It was this one, I believe, entitled To the Red-Headed League. Oui, c'est ça. I am honored that you have seen it. It states that only one condition for joining the League is having flame-colored hair, and that if you satisfy the interview panel and are admitted into the League, you could receive a weekly income of £4. On the date specified, the red-headed hopefuls gathered in droves at a park, specified in the advertisement. And from each person present, this pair took an application fee of 5 shillings. And with the money to France, it was a plan most elegant, non? No, it was most dishonorable. But to be frank, I'm stunned anybody was foolish enough to be taken in by such an obvious trick. The park was described by one witness as choked with red-headed folk like a coaster's orange barrow. And on the day in question, which was these men gathered to, and on the day in which all these men gathered to apply was the day before the victim was discovered. Crucially, these two men spoke face to face with every single person present that day. Oui, I have seen more red-headed people in one day than I will see in the rest of my life. See, and now, every time I see the couple's hair, I feel sick to my stomach. Anyway, why have we been summoned here today? Sorry? The date for our trial was not until tomorrow, I was told. Naturally, neither of these men have been told any details about this trial. Fraud to be on the Red-Headed League swindle was caught by Mr. Sholmes. He derives from the French aristocracy, it seems. Woo. Oh, look, even all these guys. Peddler plying his trade on Fresno Street seems to make his money selling interesting items of news to passers-by. She seems to make her money selling meager little fireworks to children. A mysterious signpost who can be found on Fresno Street. He somewhat looks familiar somehow. Peppino de Rossi, a lackey of de Rossier and a conspirator in the Red-Headed League swindler, the third son of a great Italian landowner. Hold on a second there. Wait, whoa, what's going on here? You see that, right? They've only been shown this photograph. Very good. Very good. So, Mr. de Rossier and Mr. de Rossi. Rousseau and Rossi, that's it. Mr. de Rousseau and Mr. de Rossi, you will now give your formal testimony for the court on the subject of the gentleman pictured in this photograph. Of course, we are always ready to help with the law. You can't see it here, but in his profile picture, Peppino has, he absolutely has a choke mark on his neck. Just like Gossip. What is this all about? Did they fight each other? We had more than 1,000 red-headed people assembled in the park on Lime Streets that day. But I don't recall the man in this photograph. Aye, capo? None. I don't remember him. Obviously he's dead now, but I assure you, he was not in the park. Allora, this victim has nothing to do with us. You have a lot to answer for, Peppino. It is your fault that we got caught in the first place. It's cute. Peppino's cute. He's probably the murderer. You've given sworn testimony that this man in the photograph was not present. Can you be certain? By a pepper, yeah. Oui, I am quite certain. We did not interview this man. Nobody looking like this came to the park, at least I can promise. It must be noted that you have been arrested for a grand deception, however. Accordingly, this court has little confidence in your assurances. Uffa, with this attitude, we get to nowhere, huh? He's really a sulkin now. This confidential document was obtained directly from Scotland Yard. It records an entry from the inspector's private diary dated before the incident. The day before the incident. Reads Lime Street, Red-Headed League, undercover. Ah, I have the answer. Maybe there was another similar event in the park on the day in question, eh? That is ridiculous. There's no question that Inspector Gregson was investigating the Red-Headed League. Which means it's quite possible that when he was that's when he was killed. Very well, the defense may proceed with the cross-examination now. Yes, my lord. The man in the photograph. Okay.
Hold it!
Yahoo! You're LOL over Peppino because Peppino equals cucumber in Spanish. With one P. Pepito. One time when I was in the city, me and Nessie were getting, we're going to a movie. It was when we were going to see Detective Pikachu, actually. There was like an I think it was either Italian. I think it was a Spanish ice cellar, like ice, like not ice, like how do I explain it? The Italian ice, like that. But the guy they were advertising as Spanish ice, and the guy stopped me when we were walking to the movie theater, and I think he called me Pepito, and Nessie thought that was the funniest thing ever. I think. I can't remember if that's what he called me. Which I don't... Is that a word? Because I'm not see... Oh, wait. Hold on. Yeah, I don't see a translation for the word Pepito. And then the other week when I bought cannoli ice cream, Nessie said I was for cannoli. That made me blush. Anyway. 1,000 people. That's a very big crowd. It was quite a spectacle. Redheads had come from all over the capital. See, the capo here. He has the magnetismo animale, eh? Nobody else can attract so many people. If I could be born again, I would be the capo. All those people wanted was the money, Peppino. The £4 per week. Are you suggesting that you spoke personally with all 1,000 applicants? Oui, that we did, because every one of them paid us 5 shillings. We take their names, and we take their money, and we take their addresses as well. Then I tell them we take some days to let them know by post they're finito, maybe 2 minuti a person. We start early in the morning, and we stop late in the night. So you earned 5,000 shillings in one day? That's a small fortune. Who'd have thought there were 1,000 such gullible redheads in London to start with? One of whom was a great detective with chemically altered hair. It is a word, it's regional. Oh, okay. But I don't recall the men in the photograph, eh, couple? Couple? Here we go! It's mostly used as a nickname. Okay, so he probably was calling me Pepito. Because it was a while ago and I couldn't remember what the name was. He doesn't look at all familiar? No, I don't think so. And this is a wig, eh? He was trying to trick us. I do not like the people who are trying to trick the other people. Says the con artist. If between them they interviewed 1,000 people with red hair, it would be unreasonable to expect them to remember every face. No, signore. It may be small. But my memory is very large. I never forget a thing. In my opinion, I do not think this man was in the park. But he's not going to give the court a definite, it seems. Hey, capo, you didn't see a man like this, huh?
Hold it!
According to what you've just said, you spoke with 1,000 more people that day. Oui, that's true. My eyes were burning by the end of the day. Surely then you can't actually remember every single face. How are you so certain that this particular man wasn't present? Normally the red hair is very distinctive, eh? But not when you have 1,000 redheads crowding around, then it's just an eyesore. But if there was some other information you could give us, maybe we could recall. That is not the line, Peppino. Remember, we do not remember him. We are sure of that factor. If there was a man with the red hairpiece, but his mustache did not match the color, then I do not think I could have forgotten him. Cosmo said that those two had only been shown the photograph and they'd been told nothing else at all. What if I fed them just one other detail about the victim? For example, Pepito is close to Pepitas, pumpkin seeds. Interesting. I wasn't wearing orange that day. I could certainly appreciate that just knowing the man had red hair wouldn't help you remember in this situation. What if I told you that the man was always munching on a packet of fish and chips? Do you remember a man who was eating incessantly? Not really, I was looking only at the heads of the applicants. I wouldn't have noticed the fish and chips any more than the caviar and smoked salmon. Or a spaghetti. Me, I love the spaghetti. Oh my god. Have to screen cap that one. Really? I had no idea. Tell them again what you said before, Peppino. Was there a way to remove the, no, there isn't. There's no, hide the background in this game. Whoop.
Hold it!
Fries are good. Yeah, they are. Fish and chips are amazing. I would get it tomorrow, but I don't know, or today, I guess, but I don't know. I don't know if I want to get lunch today, just because I've been spending so much money. I'm gonna tell you something that happened at PAX, and, you gotta keep this, well, I guess it's not secret, because I mentioned it on Twitter, but, I went to a very fancy restaurant one night, unintentionally, and, I ended up ordering a $52 piece of steak. Like, a super high-class, expensive piece of steak. It was absolutely delicious. I loved it. But I'm never doing that again. Yes, $52. It was 12 ounces of steak. It was like a single piece of steak. I also had alcohol with it because I was like, oh boy, I'm living fancy. I had, what was it? What did I drink with it? A mosquito. That's what I had. It was good. Very fruity. I'll say this, it was a very good piece of meat. It was absolutely a high quality cut, but it's definitely too rich for my blood. And experiencing it once was enough for a lifetime. I am absolutely not telling my mother that I did that, because she will have a heart attack if I tell her I ordered a $52 piece of steak. And I didn't just order one, because I bought dinner for me and my friend and my roommate. It was Shell Shock, he was there with me. And I bought us both the expensive steak, so I paid over $100 for dinner. Kind of hard to beat skirt steak. Hey, no, look, any cut of meat, a cheap cut of meat can be good. I'm not going to deny that, but this was absolutely I'll say a cut above in terms of, like, pure taste and consistency. It, like, melted in your mouth. It was so good. But yeah, I will never be spending that much on a piece of steak ever again. Don't worry. Victim has nothing to do with us, see, but what else can we do, eh? True. Uffa, we are not having much of fun these days. First we are arrested, then we are shown the horrible picture of a dead man. Tacos are great, yeah. And now we can question every single thing we say. We are the victims here. They put salmon in the fish tacos, Hank. Was it salmon in the fish taco? Was that the line from King of the Hill? Yeah, it was. They put salmon in the fish tacos, Hank. Hey, couple? No, you were caught carrying out a plot to swindle hundreds of innocent people. You had to bring that up, eh? It's not fair. Hey, couple? You have a lot to answer for, Peppino. It is your fault that we got caught in the first place.
Hold it!
Yeah, I'm not French, I'm German. I cannot do accents. This game is killing me. What do you mean by that? Cavolo, you promised not to say, eh, couple? After we had taken all their money that day, we should have left the country. That was my plan. I left the purchasing of the tickets for the ferry to Dunkirk and my companion. To Dunkirk, excuse me. To my companion here. The way they spelled Dunkirk there was different from how I'm used to seeing it. But they bought them for the wrong day. Oops. Donkey. See, but it is an easy mistake to make, huh? Is the first is the 31st. Boff, I have no sympathy for you. We were on all day late with the boat because of your stupidity. And it's only because of this that so-called great red-headed detective caught us. Couple, you know what I think? It is the work of God. It is a holy punishment, eh? Peppino, for the last time. This is not only punishment. This is only your fault. Ah. Don't blame God for your unholy mistakes. You are making me sick with anger. Maybe I make a mistake, but when it's time to eat our pasta, no one is faster. And I've seen the evidence. They haven't told us much we didn't already know. What do you think, Mr. Naruhodo? Well, if it was in the inspector's diary, it seems like they must have gone to Lime Street that day. And yet, these two both claim they didn't see him. I have to say, they don't appear to be telling lies. Well, they are experts in deception, don't you forget. Sounding plausible is their specialty. They may be lying simply to avoid being implicated in this case as well. Surely, if they were truly experts in deception, they wouldn't have been caught. Well, yes, you do have a point there. It seems to me like we need more information. Definitely. We pressed on every point here, though. Oh, wait. There's more we could choose from that one thing.
Hold it! Hold it!
See, I thought the fish and chips for sure would be the hook there.
Hold it!
Mm-hmm. I could certainly appreciate that just knowing the man had red hair wouldn't help you remember in this situation. What if I told you that the man's name was Gregson? The man in the photograph is a Monsieur Gregson. Yes. Names, they are boring. I do not listen to any of them. Oh. It was not a real interview, it was just for a show. Why would I remember the names? That's right, this changes nothing. The man in the photograph was not there, as we have already said. I see. It seems there's a little bit of gain from pursuing this point further. Tell me again what you said before, Peppino.
Hold it!
You don't want to be in stationary art hell. Yeah, no, I don't. I could certainly appreciate that just knowing the man had red hair wouldn't help you remember in this situation. What if I told you that the man in red hair piece was actually a detective? The man in the photograph a detective? Yes. It would appear he found your notice in the paper suspicious and decided to investigate incognito. Sorry, but this changes nothing. Wait.
Excuse me.
Something to add, Mr. De Rossi? Look at him. I love him. See, I am always adding something. Parmesan, olive oil, pepper. I love this man. What I mean is, did you not agree with your friend's last remark by any chance? What did he just say about the detective? Yes, that. Keep your mouth shut, Peppino. You have said enough already. But why, Capo? What is the problem? He's quite a foodie, yeah. He's like me. He's Italian, he eats a lot, and he's short and chubby. He's me. I'm not too short, but... There was a man who has said that I'm an inspector from Scotland Yard. What? What? Good lord, look how short he is. Oh my god. He's 24. Order, order, order! Explain this volte-face in your testimony, witness. Volte-face? Volte-face? Voltepus? Wait, what? It's simple. A man who was at the park said to us that he was an inspector. There was no such man. Madai, what are you saying, Capo? Have you forgotten, eh? I have forgotten nothing. Nobody like this came to the park. Basta, Capo, basta! You beat me at many things, but not to the memory and the meals. Like I said, when it's time to eat at the pasta, no one is a faster. I'm gonna take like so many screenshots of this dude. Yeah, he's a cinnamon roll. But you are inferior to me in every other way, so shut up.
Objection!
Trop tard. The damage is done. Indeed it is, sir. Oui, there was a man who came to the park and said he was inspector from Scotland Yard. However, he looked nothing like the man in the photograph. It was someone else. How can you be so sure? Because, to start with, his face is completely different. See, it's true, it's true. He's the man who came was a younger. His face was clean-shaven, his eyes were sadder, his chin was thinner. No resemblance whatsoever, then. Anyway, I was not going to be fooled. I took the obvious precaution and said to him, "If you are really a detective, show us the proof." See, the couple here, he doesn't take a no-nonsense, eh? But they was well prepared. They said they had identification. Identification? I mean, official police inspector's identification? This is most unconvincing. Sorry, my lord? Counsel, no incognito inspector would offer his identification for inspection. It is quite out of the question. Definitely. Why would he expose his true identity? Clearly the papers were fake. Certo, Capo, you are a genius. As we say in Italia, it takes a thief to recognize another, eh? And what happened after he announced that he was a detective? It became very annoying. He said, "You are under investigation." So I took his papers from him and chased him out of the park. It was fantastico, and here, look, his identification. So you stole it from the man? Oh. Whoa. So you stole it from the man. He had it coming. He made us very scared. But he was not the man who he said he was. Indeed, the person described does not appear to have behaved as a true inspector would. However, I believe it would be prudent for these identification papers to be entered into evidence. But I like them. Identification of a man claiming to be a detective inspector, confiscated by Mr. De Rousseau and Mr. De Rossi. Rocio. Now, let us return to the witness's testimony. Metropolitan Police warrant card. Well, I suppose we should see what this inspector's identification looks like inside. "997, isn't that Lestrade?" Yes, it definitely looks fake, doesn't it? Out of interest, what name is given? Probably just something plucked out of the air. It's Tobias Gregson. Wait, what? This Scotland Yard insignia looks genuine to me. But how? And the department identification number details are all correct as well. Since when have you known those? Do you mean to say... I know it seems incredible, but yes. I think this is a genuine identification book issued by Scotland Yard. But that's unbelievable. This is the real thing after all? Inspector Gregson's police identification is the official warrant card issued to him by Scotland Yard. Well, if Gregson was already possibly dead by this point, then whoever killed him might have had the ID on them. White worn on the front. I like that. They went to the trouble of making it look worn out.
Objection!
Yeah, the piece of evidence you just gave me. I wonder if I could ask you to examine this identification book very closely. Miss Lestrade. Why Miss Lestrade? What is your intention here, Counsel? Is this really a fake or is it genuine? That's the question, which we can't answer ourselves.
Objection!
Don't be ridiculous. No Scotland Yard detective would allow his or her identification to be stolen. That is the boss's, no question about it. It can't be. As I suspected. The undercover detective who attended the Red-Headed League's enrollment on the day in question. Enrollment is spelled wrong there. Is that how it's spelled in Britain? With one L? Was the real Inspector Gregson, carrying out an incognito investigation. Zutalor! That's what Jock says in Animal Crossing. Zutalor. Order, order! But if the boss had his identification stolen, what was that noise I just made? It would have been reported straight away. I mean, it was always on me about it. If you lose something, report it at once, he'd say. Could it be, then, that the inspector was physically unable to report it? Physically, eh? What are you saying? Unable to? You're not suggesting... Yes, it's quite possible that he was killed before he had the chance to report his identification stolen. No. Order, order, order! The defense posits that the victim was killed the day before his body was discovered at a different location. Do you two have anything to say about that?
Mamma mia, I know nothing. I don't know nothing.
Pull yourself together, Peppino. Mon Dio, you cannot behave a little more like a master criminal than that, non?
Now I wish I'd returned to Italia.
Stop crying, Peppino, please. Otherwise, Loom, stop your whining and start talking. Well, I believe the court will need to hear your story in considerably greater detail.
I know nothing. I don't know nothing.
But you will tell everything, or face the worst possible outcome. You will dry your eyes and testify again about these identification papers and the precise circumstances in which you came by them. For crying out loud.
The truth is, we took him prisoner and kept him for the night in our secret hideout. Even though I didn't think he was a real detective, I was too scared to let him go that day, just in case. We took the man's identification from him and shut him in the room next to ours. There might have been a little tussle, but we did him no harm, and the next morning we let him go. He spent the night in the nice room. It was nothing like a prison, really.
This is outrageous. You imprisoned the man.
Oh, no, see, no. It was not like a prison. He was a very comfortable and a calm and a happy. Eh, capo?
It was never part of my plan. I swear it.
Uffa, so you think it was all my fault, eh? Just because I got the date of the ferry wrong. By one little a day.
I do not think it was your fault, Peppino. I know it.
No. Per favor, capo. It is not fair.
You shall have plenty of time for squabbling back at the prison, gentlemen.
Ugh, I don't want to believe this. How could they have been the real detective?
Counsel for the defense, proceed with the cross-examination. So the day before the incident, Gregson spent the night confined in this pair's hideout. This doesn't add up.
Hold it!
Do you realize what you're saying?
You have to believe me, I never intended for that to happen. And I'm sure the detective did not intend it either.
Do you think?
But there was nothing else I could do. See, nothing else. This was the first crime for the capo. He was at the end of his wits. I have told you before, Peppino, that is not the way to describe a criminal mastermind.
What about this hideout of yours?
An old empty house behind the park on Lime Street. He rented the place for 2 days. He was inspired by the idea. It was an inspired idea by the capo here.
An impulsive idea, I would say.
No, not impulsive. Inspired. Eh, capo? What am I supposed to say to that, Peppino?
It was in the house described that you confined Inspector Gregson, was it?
Oui. But you have to remember, I was under the impression that he was a pretender, not the real inspector. It doesn't quite add up, though. If you didn't think the man was a real inspector, there would have been no reason to take him prisoner, would there? None, you are right, but we couldn't be completely certain.
Hold it!
Too scared, why? Because why had he come to the park? We didn't know. There was a chance that he had seen to my plan. And if that was like the case, he would go straight to the police station to blow the whistle on us. Even if he was just feigning to be an inspector, he was up to no good, huh? Without a doubt. I think most people would agree that it's you two who are up to no good. Well, see, you may be right. Eh, couple? The point is, we were not able to escape from England immediately. That is why we had no choice but to take the man prisoner. What I don't understand is why the inspector felt the need to show you his identification in the first place. See, I ask myself the same question. Wrong accent. We were writing down the names and addresses of all the people who took 5 shillings from that day. I have forgotten what name he said, but the address, it startled me. CC address, Scotland Yard, Homicide Division, he said. What? It probably didn't like your face, Peppino. Anyway, I was not rude, I just politely asked him why he had said it. And that's when he started to say he was an inspector. Not long afterwards, they took out his identification. What was Inspector Gregson playing at? It wasn't him. It had to be his killer probably assumed his identity. Tell the court how it would happen next. You took him back to your hideout, you say? See, we did that.
Hold it!
That being this identification book here, correct? See, that is the one. What made you believe that it was a forgery? I never seen a real one, of course. But he was so suspicious, this a man. Allora, I was thinking, it must be falso. Eh, couple? Oui, it is just as Peppino has said, we were not convinced it was genuine. And so together, the hilarious brothers, we took the man captive. All we did was shove him inside a locked room. Then we made preparations to transport all of the money. In for a penny, in for a pound. A little tussle, huh?
Hold it!
What do you mean by a little tussle, exactly? Both, it was nothing, just a minor incident. The fossil inspector, he was a real piece of the work, eh, couple? What happened? Oof, it was a disaster. We gave him a nice room, and what does he do, huh? In the middle of the night, he tries to escape through the ventilator. Ventilator? Oh, okay. Can you blame him? We chased him, Ben Silver, and we caught him again. Can you blame us? Wait, you didn't shoot the man in your haste, did you? So, who do you think we are? Of course not. I simply caught hold of him again and took him back to the room. Oh my god, his voice is like really high pitched.
Excuse me.
Mr. De Rossi, is something wrong? Eh? Me? Something Mr. De Rousseau said to Rousseau just seemed to make you, well, it seemed to make you act even more strangely than usual. What was that all about? Cavolo, at times like that, you don't want to have the capo after you, believe me. And I speak from a personal experience, Personal experience? That is enough, Peppino. There is no need to say more. The truth is, the night before we put the Red-Headed League plan into action, I was scared. It was not fair to the capo, but I tried to run away. It's a shame you didn't manage it. But the capo here, he came after me like the turban, eh? He dragged me back to the house, kicking into the screaming. I have the bruises to prove it, eh, capo? Bruises, you say? Ah, you want to see, huh? You want to see my fantastical bruises? That's enough now, Peppino. No one wants to look at any part of you. What to do, huh? I show you or I don't, I show you or I don't, You do, now. Hello, if everybody wants to see, then I, do it. Echo, you see? Still very visible, eh?
That red ring around your neck. You got that when you were dragged back to the house? Oh. There's like a little piece of lint floating in front of me. So if that's just his mark when he's pulling people, that must mean that he also pulled on Gossip's neck. So Gossip must have been disguised as Gregson for some reason? Did he kill him?
See, the capo is very rough, and...
I said that's enough.
Peppino's neck is nothing to do with what we were talking about, dear. You have my word.
Yes, what is your opinion, Counsel? About this red ring about Mr. De Rossi's neck? I wonder, does it matter? It's important. Mr. De Rossi, I'm going to have to ask you to amend your testimony with details about that mark on your neck.
Hey, couple, you see? Everyone is interested in what I have to say, huh?
Ugh.
Very well, you will amend your testimony as requested, Mr. De Rossi. See, if you really want to know. He tried to escape, but the couple put a collar on him and dragged him back, like what you did to me, see?
But how do I present what's his name? I have to get stuff to press it.
Hold it!
There are Ace Attorney games where you can present people. I believe Ace Attorney 2 and 3. I know 3, definitely. I think 2 as well. In those games, you can actually just present people instead of evidence. And it ends up being quite important, actually. But in all the later games, they made it more contextual, where if you need to point someone out, you just point them out. Are you saying that red mark was caused by...
See, a big collar made from leather.
A leather collar? Is this true, Mr. De Rosso?
Well, we had a St. Bernard at home when I was younger.
What the fuck happened to the accent there?
It is a souvenir from that time. It is a very strong chain.
A strong chain? And you put that around your friend's neck?
I'm sorry, I was so angry that he was leaving me alone. You did not tie the chain of the leg to the bed, though. I would have not tried to run again.
You didn't do that to Inspector Gregson as well, did you?
Treat the people equal, is the capo's motto here, eh?
Starting to sound a lot more like a prison all of a sudden. Starting to sound a lot more like a prison all of a sudden.
The capo is a tough, but the capo is a rough. I shouldn't have done it.
So the following morning, when you released the inspector...
He had the red ring around his neck, just like a me.
Peppino, s'il vous plaît. Leave it now.
Now you know, the capo here. You don't want to tangle with him, eh? But for the inspector, it's not so bad.
Hold it!
You took away the man's freedom. However comfortable you make it sound, you were still holding him prisoner.
If you say that, then I say this. There's something that takes away our freedom too. The lack of our money. So we are the prisoners as well, eh? All of us.
Huh?
No money, no freedoms. This is the truth. It makes me mad and it makes me sad. What can we do?
Well... If you feel so disenfranchised, take money to court. It'll cost you, of course.
Uffa, there you have it. You see, that is why we need the Red-Headed League. To fight for the justice.
Perhaps he has a point. No, Mr. Naruhodo.
All we did was give the man a comfortable place to sleep for the night. And you say it was a prison, huh?
Perhaps he has a point again. No again, Mr. Naruhodo.
You should have heard him snoring. Madai, if anyone was disturbed, it was us.
Not much to go on, really. Their testimony does make me wonder, you know? About this pocket watch belonging to the inspector, I mean. Ah, yes, the one he treasured so much, apparently. If he was confined but not restrained, as the witnesses are implying, he would still have been able to wind his watch. That's very true, yes. So did Inspector Gregson actually die while he was being held captive by these redheads? In which case, is it possible that these two young men are responsible for Inspector Gregson's... To be honest, I find that hard to believe. Perhaps we should try to find out what exactly happened. Very wise, Mr. Naruhodo, yes.
Objection!
So the day before his body was discovered, Inspector Gregson was taken prisoner while working incognito. No, it was not like that. It was hardly a prison. It was an invitation to stay. It was only. However you describe it, there's one glaring inconsistency that remains. What inconsistency is this, Counsel? I would ask the court to look closely at this photograph of the victim, Inspector Gregson. You will see that there is no red ring visible around his neck. But that makes no sense. It was me who took the collar off the man in the morning. And I saw the red bruises on his neck, just like I have. Given that the mark is still clearly visible on the witness's neck, we'd expect to see bruising on the victim who was put in the collar more recently than Mr. De Rossi. Indeed, that is most peculiar. But we tell you, we say this from the beginning, many times. Can't cry now. Oui, Peppino's right. The man in the photograph is someone different to the man we held captives that night. I shot him from the back. I'm gonna stand this dude. No, I'm joking. Not really. He's definitely my favorite person in this case so far. Order, order, order! I'm really losing it now. It's getting to the end. It would appear then that on the day before the incident, the man who visited the park on Lime Street posing as an incognito inspector was not Inspector Gregson at all.
Objection!
If that's true, however, how do you explain the inspector's identification? This is a genuine identification book, issued by Scotland Yard. It's inconceivable that someone could have stolen such an important item from the inspector. The prosecution made that assertion itself. And we also note the inspector had made a note about the Red-Headed League in his diary for that day, which surely means that we can't divorce the two events completely. The inconsistency noted by the defense is most troubling. If it were the real Inspector Gregson whom these two red-headed gentlemen encountered, the fact of that no bruising can be seen around his neck defies explanation. But equally, if they encountered an imposter, how did that person come to be in possession of the real Inspector's identification? Does the defense have some plausible explanation, counsel? The holding defies explanation. It is for precisely these occasions that we keep meticulous notes in the court record, Mr. Naruhodo. Because those are the facts, and the facts cannot lie. No, the facts can't lie. Even when they point to something so incredible, it's almost unbelievable. Well, my lord, the true identity of the person who turned up in the park for the Red-Headed League's enrollment is revealed by information in the court record, I believe. Good gracious! Very tantalizing, Mr. Naruhodo. So why don't you help us all to see whatever the truth is that you've apparently seen? Who exactly was this inspector that appeared before Mr. Rousseau and Mr. De Rossi? Though it seems incredible, I admit, the undeniable facts point to only one thing. Since no bruising can be seen on the victim's neck, the person who these two red-headed men took prisoner that day cannot have been Inspector Gregson. In other words, your whole argument up to now has been a waste of time.
Objection!
On the contrary, I haven't finished. What? There's no bruising on the victim's neck, so the question immediately posed next is, Who exactly was this man in the park on Lime Street found to be carrying Inspector Gregson's identification? See, that's right. We tell the same story every time. Whoever this man was, the capo dragged him from a pillar to a post with a dog collar. Mon Dieu, Peppino, I was not so harsh as you say, huh? So who was that falso inspector, eh? Who was he? Clearly, the defense has an idea about that. About the true identity of the man these two imprisoned that night. I must ask the counsel for the defense to elaborate post-haste. Who did the witnesses encounter in the park posing as Inspector Gregson?
Take that!
Goodness me, isn't that one of the witnesses who was in the stand this very courtroom earlier today? A nameless man whose only occupation appears to be peddling hearsay to passers-by.
Objection!
What on earth would a street seller be doing with the police inspector's identification papers? Witnesses, is this the man or not? What has happened to his lip? Ah. You see, this man is not for the Red-Headed League, eh? He's looking for the Twisted Lip League, no? Perhaps rather than making such a rash claim next time, you should bite your lip instead. It seems improbable, yes, but one undeniable fact remains. During his testimony earlier, I noticed something around the man's neck. A red ring of bruising. Eh? What? The defense demands that Mr. Gossip be brought back to the stand. Order, order, order! Bailiff! Bring the aforementioned witness back to the courtroom. Immediately. Well, I never. An undeniable ring of bruising indeed. And identical to that of the witness beside him. What's going on here, eh? Always add this me. It's a birthmark, innit? A birthmark, you say? I assume the reason you've been recalled to the stand has been explained to you. Someone about that inspector again. But I'm telling you, you got it all wrong as usual. You're denying all knowledge of it? Well, of course I am. Are you trying to kill me with all this nonsense, eh? At least you'll have more stories to peddle back on Fresno Street, won't you? Now, we're going to need you to testify again. And you, Mr. De Rossi and Mr. De Rossi, I'm sure you'll cooperate, won't you? Do we have any choice? We are in a bigger trouble, eh, couple? That's quite enough dilatory chatter. Proceed with the testimony. And I think this is where I'm going to stop for tonight, because it is after 3:30. Inspector and identification revisited. As much as I'd like to keep going, I do have to get ready, go to bed, and take care of a couple other things first. But hey, we're making progress. This is very, very good. Very good. I will try to be back tomorrow and just keep plugging away through this. Again, I'm only going to be doing Chapter 4 before I go on my next trip. I'm going to save Chapter 5 for when I get back. But we'll see. And hopefully I can get some other games in too soon. If you want to watch more streams, well, I guess thank you for coming. Thank you everyone for coming. Always thank you for supporting me. Always appreciate it. I say that every night, but I mean it. It's not disingenuous. I absolutely appreciate every person who comes by and watches, even if you're just lurking, even if you're not watching or chatting. It's all good. Thank you. Thank you so much, you as well. Whoa, stream kind of cut out there. Okay. If you want to watch more streams, check out twitch.tv/team/wildabandon. Plenty of people streaming there right now. Or you could stick around in my auto host. I'll take you to someone on my auto host list. I should really redo that because I have some like partners on my auto host list, and it's really like they don't need my auto host. They really don't. I appreciate like they're my friends, but at the same time it's like they don't need me to auto host them when I'm bringing maybe like one person. The smaller streamers need it a lot more, so I might redo that auto host list at some point. But anyway, that's something to discuss another time. For now, I'm gonna get going. thank you for coming. Have a great night, and I will hopefully see you tomorrow with more GAA2R Case 4